Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Get Off the Damn Fence. That's right, we're back for another Wednesday night, July 30th. Leo season is upon us. We thank you for joining us here for another edition of this tremendous podcast. And we thank each and every one of you for making this one of the best podcasts on the airways. I know last week we had some very good feedback post show that I was able to have some lively conversation with some different people about. So we appreciate the vigor when it comes to the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. That discussion really drummed up some discussion. And tonight we're going to continue that type of excitement as we head into the NFL season. And it's happy to do with none other than co-host Calvin Thomas and Justin Beated Barber Harris. Gentlemen, how y'all doing tonight?
What's happening?
What's going on with you?
Hey, man. Been an interesting week. A lot to cover. We do have some big stories that we're going to get into a bit more later. We know that when people tune into us, they want to hear about what's current. They want to hear about, but at this point, the big news from last week it's about a week old now, so we will touch on it, but that's been covered. But we're going to get to some stuff that's more timely, and that's in the world of the NFL as we head into NFL season. A lot been happening. Training camp opened up over the past week. A lot of stories coming out of there. But this weekend coming up is the NFL Hall of Fame, and that's where we're going to start tonight. We have a new induction class going into the NFL Hall of Fame this Saturday. The Hall of Fame game is tomorrow night. Football is back on July 31st, Thursday night, Hall of Fame game. And the four inductees into the 2025 class is Marcus Allen, Jared Allen, Antonio Gates, and Sterling Sharp. These four gentlemen were elected into the Football Hall of Fame last year, and now they'll be inducted into the Eric Allen. Damn it, you see it. Look, it's a little thin. My eyes is great. You wearing glasses, so it dimmed the color for you a little bit more.
Marcus Allen play for the Eagles.
Look, Eric Allen, Jared Allen, Antonio Gates, and Sterling Sharp. Y'all know the point. Shit. Anyway, so this is the four-person class. Very interesting. Very rare that we only get four people inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame in a year. But they decided to, these were the guys that got in. We know there's been a log jam the last several years of different guys who have been waiting. You know the names of the guys who look. They feel like the wide receiver class has been jammed up. When will some of these guys got in? But of all the wide receivers, Sterling Sharp was the only one to make the cut from a perspective of a defensive pass rushing perspective. Jared Allen definitely was on the list. I don't know if he would have necessarily been on my list, but he's on the list. And then from a tight end perspective, if you look back at what Antonio Gates was able to do with those San Diego Charger teams, with the Phillip Rivers / Drew Brees early on, with the LaDainian Tomlinsons and that team was a winning, high-powered offense, and Gates was a big part of that. So I do think he is definitely worthy of such consideration. Justin, I'll start with you. What is your thoughts on this four-person class going in this weekend? Anybody you feel didn't deserve any snub here in particular, or someone, let's just concentrate on these four that didn't really deserve the edge right now, or you think someone who's finally getting there who was long overdue?
I think with the induction of Sterling, it kind of sets the bar to, I guess, the minimum of the bar. So if you have a dominant 6 to 7 years, you can get into the Hall of Fame. And as long as we got a baseline, we can start from there. Then, we can have conversations about other people. So now that we have that official, cool, I'm okay with that. Sterling clearly was one of the best wide receivers of all time. He was on one tremendous path of stats until he ended up messing his neck up. So Antonio Gates, like you just said, it's nothing else I can add to it. Just he was the pass catcher from them San Diego Chargers. You really can't name wide receivers like that. It was him. And that speaks enough for a tight end. Jared Allen, Wasn't my cup of tea, but I do respect Game. He was definitely one of the better edge rushers. Just once he started doing that horse and collar rodeo thing, he lost me, guys. I ain't gonna lie. Like I said, not my thing. But shout out to Eric Allen. I was surprised that Eric Allen made this list. It was clearly they only inducted 4, but Eric Allen, if you really don't know football, you really don't know how good Eric Allen was. So he wasn't necessarily his name didn't pop out like that. So you really had to understand what he was doing on a week in, week out basis, and he was legitimately one of the better cornerbacks of the league for an extended period of time. So shout out to Eric Allen. It's a decent class. Not necessarily one of the best classes of all time, but decent enough.
Mm-hmm. Calvin, your thoughts on the 2025 class?
I'm glad Sterling Shaw finally got in. I mean, I think he was a 3-time All-Pro in his 7 years. And when I'm saying you're a 3-time All-Pro in your 7 years in the early 90s, you had Chris Carter, Jerry Rice, Michael Irvin, Tim Brown, Andre Reed, and you were one of the top 2 during that time. You deserved to get in, even though your career was cut short due to injuries. The last year of his career, I believe he almost had 100 receptions. That's because he missed the last couple games. So, and that would have been the 3rd time in his 7-year career that he had 100 receptions. And just he was well deserved. So I'm surprised that it took this long to get in. I mean, I know he had a short career, but he put up numbers. Antonio Gates was arguably the best tight end in football for 3 to 4 year period. They just couldn't get over the hump. But he was one of the first. He took the mantle of that former basketball player turned tight end from Tony Gonzalez, Jimmy Graham, those type of guys, and he kind of reinvented that position to where those undersized power forwards are now elite tight ends because they can just go up and get the ball over the top of the middle. Jared Allen, look, if it was a pass rusher, I'm partial, so I thought it should have been Suggs. I know Allen, I believe he had 4 or 5 All Pros, and Suggs only had 2, but when you play on a defense with Ed Reed and Ray Lewis, you kind of get overshadowed, and I think that's what Suggs did early on until those guys retired and he tried to take on the mantra of that defense on his own. And Eric Allen, long overdue, in that 90s to early 01 period. I think his last year was the year with the Raiders. They went to the Super Bowl, if I remember correctly. But he was just a stalwart corner. Once again, a guy that didn't get a lot of shine because he didn't get a lot of wins on his teams with Philly and I believe New Orleans as well. So just a guy that was kind of overlooked, but he was one of those top tier corners in an era when you really only had like Dion, you had those guys that were really flashy, and that just wasn't him. But he was still a top tier corner. So overall, it's a great class. It could be a little bit better in my opinion. There's still a log jam at QB. There's still at wide receiver. There's still a log jam at old lineman. There's some pass rushers I think that should get in, but the NFL Hall of Fame is one of the hardest Hall of Fames to get in. But I think they need to add more players annually because you'll have this log jam continuously. You won't be able to get everyone who deserves to be into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, as people retire, you're just going to add greater players to the list. And because they don't have a cap on how many they can put in, that's a good thing. But they seem to be pretty, very stingy with giving out their votes. So that's a bad thing in some way, but not really because it keeps the prestige and there'll always be a class. I mean, if you think of it that way, I mean, like we say, Eric Allen been retired for years and he just getting in. Sterling been retired for years. He just getting in. Still can look at their careers and say, in the context for the time they played in, they're worthy of being in the Hall of Fame. But my issue is when you keep adding games, we in 17 games now. And we keep adding these different layers to the game, taking away something. The rules have changed. The stats are going to look completely different by the time you're comparing people of these modern times versus people who played when the game was different. And I think that's some things that's worked against some players. You know what I mean? Like even the style of offense, the style of defensive calls, some of the rules that have changed, is going to change some of how the stats are being compared. If you're just looking at a stat sheet and saying, oh, this guy had 100 catches, this guy had 1,500 yards, yada yada yada. But if you look at it for the context of the time, the further you get away from that, that's when it's going to get difficult. So I agree. They need to hurry up, get some of these guys in before people's mindset changes. Because remember, this is voted in by the media. This is voted in by people who are writing or reporting on the game. And as that evolves, then you're going to get different criteria. And some people do lose touch on what some of those old veteran writers held as to be the true standard. So the standard's going to evolve, which can be looked at two ways. A good way that you should evolve with the times, but that could hurt guys who didn't reach certain plateaus. But I really do think it's good that Sterling got in because he had such a short career. Just like we talked about a couple years ago with Terrell Davis. When Terrell got in, that was one of those benchmark players where a lot of people, well, he didn't play long enough, but he had the Super Bowls to back it up. He had the playoff stats to back it up. So I think opening up your mind to what you're using as a criteria is very important if you want to keep this Hall of Fame evolving. Any final thoughts, anybody?
Yeah, real quick. I think I said this before when they first introduced him. I'm glad that the Sharps are the first brothers to get in together. Clearly, the Mannings are next, but right now we can hold on with Eli just 1 year, and we can celebrate Sterling. And thank God that Shannon got that little case dismissed, so that it's not a dark cloud over Sterling's induction. I was really worried about that. But Shannon's gonna be all over there as well. So shout out to the Sharp family for actually being the first brothers in the Hall of Fame.
What a segue.
The other news is going to overshadow.
Oh, was that a thing? Yeah, let's go.
What a segue, because if we're going to talk about that I felt that the timing of the release by ESPN today, the news came out, ESPN will not, Shannon will not be returning to ESPN, was very telling, because if you've been paying attention, again, Hall of Fame is this weekend. Shannon dropped a podcast with Sterling on as his guest on Club Shay Shay this week. Of course, who would be the perfect person? Who else is going to be the person to induct Sterling Sharpe into the NFL Hall of Fame but Shannon Sharpe? So for Shannon Sharpe, one of the most recognized people in all of sports media, who was on ESPN, hasn't been seen on ESPN since this whole scandal popped out with him being sued. The case was dropped. There was no word that, he'll be back on imminently, nothing. Now, all of a sudden today, news is Shannon will not be coming back to ESPN. And it just so happened that his brother's going into the Hall of Fame this weekend, and people will probably be looking for him to be commentating on ESPN. And he's going to be all over this coverage, guys. I mean, there's no way around it. He's going to be on this. So it's strange to me that ESPN wouldn't wait until after, but I think it makes sense. Get out in front of it. Shannon is no longer affiliated with us. He'll be involved with the NFL festivities. He's a Hall of Famer, all well and fine, but they wanted to cut ties with him because he's settled. Had he not settled and he beat the case, I think this is different. But because he's settled, it's almost like an admission of guilt. Like in some ways, he was guilty of enough of something to have paid this person out. So it's unfortunate, but I thought the timing was interesting. Calvin, your thoughts?
So I thought that there was talk. I don't want to say a rumor. There was talk that he was going to be back Monday.
I think that was a rumor.
Okay, because I thought there was talk of that. It was never official. I don't recall hearing it on First Take or anything like that. So I'm pretty sure they knew about it, well in advance. But I thought there was talk about that. So that's why I thought the timing was what it was. But at this point, is anybody the red carpet for him to be laid out at FS1, right? They got 3 openings for shows. Skip's no longer there.
But he got fired from there too. Like at this point, Shannon's been fired from CBS.
Look, you can always
ESPN. I'm sure you can always go home.
Not to compare, but CM Punk, you can always go home. Especially if
they're desperate enough and they start.
They don't have what's their midday
They got
schedule?
nothing.
They got nothing.
They got first things first.
They got first things first. They got Colin. And what?
And Shannon works with Colin. He on his podcast network.
They on the same media network. So you need something in the afternoons. It's perfect time. It's perfect for him. I'm not gonna say it's perfect timing, but in regards to him being fired, I think we all kind of got that hint or kind of foresaw this when he took his leave of absence, and then the case and the pre-trial started kind of slow rolling out there. I don't know. Can you say? I don't think anyone can say, like you said, because he settled. That may be the reason, and not because he essentially beat the case, because it was dismissed. And you kind of figured they were going that track of settling when she didn't show up with a lawyer, whatever the case was, when they actually
got paid.
So, and that's all it was about for her was to get paid because the timing was perfect with that. As soon as he starts talking about that media deal, supposedly $50 million, and you drop a $50 million case, the timing with that was perfect. So, look, he has his media company. He has Club Shay Shay. He has Nightcat with Chad that does phenomenal numbers. Whenever they're on, it's coming up on football season, so you're gonna see his takes out there more. Just for ESPN as a whole, it's been a bad couple days with him and Gilbert and Marcus Morris. They said, Stephen A. the Feds because he didn't got all of them, but that's another topic for another day. But
we'll talk about both of those issues later.
I think Shannon bounced back on his feet, but it's just sad that I'm looking forward to seeing him back on ESPN come football season.
Yeah, I just think it's just interesting in timing, given the fact that his brother's going into the Hall of Fame this weekend. Justin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm interested. I want to see if Shannon goes into detail a little bit on Nightcat. I don't think he might have one tonight or whenever he comes back on. Because they just said they released him. Does that mean that doesn't mean that they probably could have offered him something and he turned it down? Once he realized what was going on outside of it, so do I really need this? Do I really need to be that connected with a firm like that? Maybe not. Maybe they just wanted him to say, just like you just said, Larry. Maybe they just wanted him for this Hall of Fame coverage, and then they was gonna let him right after that. He said, "Well, no, you're not gonna just use me like that." So I'm interested in seeing what the details were. Hopefully we get them. We probably won't. But he'll bounce back. He already got DraftKings back on Nightcap. That was probably the first one to come, the first sponsorship to come back. You settle sometimes because you don't necessarily say that you're guilty, but you could be innocent, but you have
want to drag on.
You don't want that drag on. You want the details to come out.
To get out that you might have did innocently.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? So she probably signed an NDA and all those things. So he took a hit, but he'll get his bread back. Not necessarily right. He'd be all right. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, can we also say that this is kind of like maybe kind of random, but can we also say the format of First Take played a part to where it revolves around Stephen A, revolves around Molly, and then it's different people, different guests on every day. And Shannon wasn't on there 5 days a week. Like
Shannon was on Monday and Tuesday.
He was on 2 days. It was on Monday and Tuesday. Like, does that play a part?
Remote. Right.
For the most part, he was in New York a couple times, but
once or twice.
It had to be something personal going on for him to be there.
I'm gonna be real with you. I didn't enjoy most of his run on First Take because I don't enjoy First Take. So it's like I watched because Shannon. I have not watched one episode of First Take since he's been gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's nothing really for me to sink my teeth into. I don't like Stephen A. Never have, never will. I'm not entertained by him. I used to like Stephen A. back in the day, so I'm lying. No. Back when Stephen A. originally was on with Skip, back on First Take, he was a different type. He was the underdog, Stephen A. He was still scrappy. He was still, connected to the culture a little bit more. Now he think you know what I mean? I don't know what he think he is. Like, I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, I'll follow Shannon wherever he go. He think he is, but like I say, Shannon's takes on football is what I tune in for. His basketball takes ain't always right, but at least he's coherent and kind of funny. You know what I mean? Like so I'll follow him, but I'm just saying from a network perspective, I don't think that he wanted to be used all over ESPN the way they wanted to use him anyway. Remember, when you sign on to ESPN, you don't just sign there for one show. Typically, you're on Sports Center, you're on Get Up, you on First Take. They put you all over the stuff. You know, Shannon said, no. I give y'all 2 days a week in the morning, and I'm going to do it from my studio wherever I'm at. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't think it was a great fit to begin with. FS1 worked out because he lived in LA at the time.
He lived in LA, yeah.
You go down the street. Now you live in Vegas. So it's like, I don't know. I think
because even when they was in LA on the West Coast, he wasn't live in the studio.
Not all the time. Yeah. So interesting. It'll be interesting to follow. Again, I just find it interesting because his brother is being inducted into the Hall of Fame this weekend, and we know how much of an orator that Shannon Sharpe is, and how he speaks of his brother. So someone's gonna listen to them speeches this weekend and see Shannon all over the coverage. They're gonna want him on that coverage of something. And I think it's also interesting that Shaq, Chuck, all of them are coming to ESPN. Coming in like a month or two, they're going to be all over the NBA coverage. So I don't think ESPN want that one less contract they got to pay as well. You know what I mean? So that'll be interesting as well. I think it was a lot of layers to this. We'll hear more about it. This just came out today, so it's fresh off the presses. All right, let's get into our. Go ahead.
Do y'all think we get a Stephen A. on Club Shay Shay or Shannon on Stephen A.'s podcast anytime soon? Okay.
Maybe Stephen A. might go on Shay Shay, but Stephen A. one of them people, he gonna protect his brand.
I mean, he already did that when he started working together. That's why I thought it would be more so the other way around. And Stephen A.'s gone not just sports, so it'll be easier to talk about.
I think he will, based on the fact that, like you said, like you made a joke about it earlier, Calvin, about how Stephen A. is like pretty much working for the feds or whatever. He'll probably bring Shannon on to say how good Stephen A. really is. To try to quiet some of that noise, but when there's smoke, they say it's fire around.
Yeah, there's too many people on the list, man. Max Kellerman's still out there. Shout out to Max.
He be back. Well, his contract in a couple months, right?
Yeah, I'll go Max and Shannon. Max and Shannon link up. We got a show, baby. We got a show. You know what I mean? I'll watch. Put Monty Jones with him. That's a hit for me. Anyway, let's do our NFL preview as we stay with the league before we get into some other news. Tonight we start with the Cincinnati Bengals. Calvin, tell us about the Bengals.
Starting quarterback, who I think I have as the third best quarterback going into this year. I believe as of last week, Joe Burrow. Let's go back and watch that. So I think the biggest offseason loss on the defensive end is Sam Hubbard. He was set to be released and he decided to retire instead. And when you look back, they really didn't add anyone else to their defense except for the rookie that they just signed. I believe within the last week. It was after we did the part last week. That defense really just took a hit, in my opinion. You have no Hendrickson. He's there, but he's not practicing. He still wants a new deal. We know how cheap, quote unquote, the Mike Brown and that family is in regards to how they pay players over the course of the year. Just thinking of going back to Carson Palmer's name comes to mind, Chad Johnson, TJ Husmann, some of those names come to mind in the past. Biggest offseason addition, in my opinion, is Samaje Perine. You have a third down running back now. Since you lost Joe Mixon a year ago, you had Zach Moss. He wasn't really that third down running back. Now you have a third down running back. They can catch the ball at the backfield. They can also get you a third and a 2 and a couple of yards. It can also pass protect, which has been a big issue for this Bengals O-line. Pass protection. Anytime you have a quarterback as great as Joe Burrow, and he takes upwards of 45 to 50 sacks per year, and this is just the season that he stayed healthy and played throughout the entire year, that is too many times for your quarterback to be getting hit. That doesn't count additional hits or hurries or anything or any rushes that he has also as well. He gets hit entirely too much to be your franchise quarterback. So with Samaje Perine, a veteran running back that can assist that line, I'm not saying, and especially on third downs, on passing downs, he can assist that line, and he can also be a weapon out the backfield to catch those short passes. The player unit to watch is easy. Defense, defense, defense. We know what this offense is going to do. We know what this offense is capable of, even giving up these sacks with Joe Burrow. You still have arguably the best receiver in the league in Jamar Chase. You arguably have the best number 2 in T. Higgins. You arguably have the best quarterback in Joe Burrow. You have a great tight end. You have dual running backs. You have a stud offensive tackle on the left side in Orlando Brown. Everyone on this name is on offense. Where's the defensive help? And if you're only getting worse on defense and when you're giving up 30 and 35 points regularly, it's going to be a shootout every game. And this offense has to step up. Last year, we were talking about Joe Burrow and equating him to some of the losses in which they scored 30, 35 points because he knew the defense was going to give up 38 and 40 points. You can't have a repeat of that this season, but you will have a repeat of that this season. Can you stop the run? Can you stop the pass? What can you do? What is their strength on offense? Especially if you have your best defensive player and Trey Hendrickson that's not practicing, and because he wants a new deal. If he's there, he can't get fined. So no one says he has to practice. He's just showing up every day.
Showing up
just so he doesn't get fined. When will he play? And also, like I said, protecting Joe Burrow. This is your franchise quarterback. This is someone you have to keep upright. Now, granted, I think you're gonna be down a lot of ball games. A lot of ball games will be shootouts. You gotta keep him upright. You gotta let him get the ball into Chase and to Higgins and get it to those weapons. Joe Burrow threw for 5,000 yards last year. I believe they went 8-9 last year and missed the playoffs. I think you're going to see a repeat of that this year. The offense is going to be great, but the defense is going to give up too many points and not be able to get key stops when it's needed to. Offense may win you some games in the regular season, but in the postseason, you're going to need defense to stop your opposing offense and also get you the ball back. If you don't turn the ball over and you're just giving up points and yards, and your defense is staying on the field and your offense on the bench, you can't score any points. So this Bengals team, nothing that I have said shows why this Bengals team will be any different last year from this year. They're going to put up points. They're going to give up points. And then this AFC North and the AFC, that's not good enough. I don't see them making the playoffs again.
Yeah, I thought your point of player or unit to watch, defense was correct. But then I was expecting you to name who was their big defensive signing, who did they add to the team? Did they draft anybody on defense? Like, what was the move that's going to make this defense supposedly better? And clearly there was none. So exactly, if you keep doing the same thing you've been doing, expecting a different result, that's a definition of insanity. Adding Samaje Perine is your biggest offseason addition. When your offense is already loaded, offense is already high-powered, what does that say to the front office and the general manager? You didn't do what you were supposed to do to make this team better. And then if you lost Sam Hubbard, which is understandable, but if you do make the move that you're supposed to make, that everybody wants you to make, and that's sign your disgruntled pass rusher, he was there last year when your defense was terrible. So where really does that make you any better? So yeah, big issues with the Bengals defensively. Offensively, they'll be great. Justin, your thoughts?
It's not too much you can add to all that. Like, I mean, what were they doing or in the offseason? They did draft somebody, which I think they finally signed their pass rusher that they drafted, right?
When they drafted, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's probably what they add. Like, if they added anybody, added him. But they had issues with him. They had issues with trying to sign him. So finally they came around to that. It's just it's just one of those things where this team is stocking on offense, and clearly they're talented, but how far does that go? How much do you want Joe Burrow to play? Like, when you're always coming from behind, pause, and then you got to try to win the game and things like that. That's tough. That's tough that's tough on your offense. That's added pressure that you really don't need. I guess the only thing positive from this team is the fact that Joe Burrow was actually healthy. Throughout the last few off seasons, he always had to mend something, and as a result, he they start off slow. So everyone's healthy when they need to be. So I think the number one thing they need to do, and I would have added for this, is weird because it's just for them to have a great start. They just need to do that.
Yeah, they start slow. They start slow. Great point. And I'll give them credit for one thing, and I didn't mention this, is they did take care of the people that they needed to take care of, and they signed the wide receivers to deals to at least get them from being unhappy. Did they make T. Higgins did they give him a long-term deal that's going to not rear his ugly head right away? No, but at least he's locked up. He's satisfied for now. And that was something they had to get Chase under contract. They got that deal done. So if you're going to, again, we've seen teams try to just be very, very explosive and be really good at one great thing and see how far it can take you. But I agree with you, Justin. You have to start fast. This team starts very slow. So, Calvin, who's your Mount Rushmore for Cincinnati Bengals, the best 4 players in the history of the franchise? Who you got?
This was a tough one because everything in me wanted to go with the recency of Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and just based off the numbers that they put up. So I started with what I knew. I said I'm going to go with what right now is the best wide receiver in Bengals history. That's Chad Johnson. I'm going to go with the best offensive lineman in their history, in Anthony Munoz. That's where I started. I wanted to go Geno Atkins. I couldn't do it. Then I said, you know what? I want to go AJ Green. I can't do it as well. So I'm going to go Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase to round it up. I'm going to go recency. I struggled hard. I wanted to go. I thought about defense. Do I want to put a Vontaze Burfict in? No, can't do that. Do I want to put a Trey Hendrickson in? He had 2 great years, but those years meant nothing to their defense when I looked at when I look at the stats of their defense. So I'm gonna go with what I think is the greatest offensive lineman, the 2 greatest wide receivers, and the greatest quarterback. Yes, instead of Carson Palmer, I'm taking Joe Burrow, and that's my 4.
Justin, do you agree with that list, or do you have something different?
I actually have the same 4, but I wanted to get some love to Kenny Anderson. He was their quarterback from the 70s to the early 80s. Got an MVP over Joe Montana, things like that. So, he was definitely – he put on for the city. So, if you ask someone that's a Bengals fan, they probably definitely will mention him. But, skill set wise, Joe Burrow is a better player. He didn't win it. Cincinnati didn't win a Super Bowl. So, neither one won. So, that equals that out, right? So we're going to give Joe Burrow – he's going to give him his flowers right now. And like I said, don't feel shocked. Jamal Chase is he might be better than Chad right now. Like, in a short tenure. Chad was that dude for a while. We're not going to disrespect Chad at the same time. Chad ain't never won no Triple Crown Award. I'm just saying.
It's tough, like man. That. I definitely agree with the wide receivers. I got Chad. I got this is tough, man. Because look, growing up, I was a 49ers fan. And the way they did the Bengals in that Super Bowl, look, Boomer Esiason thought he won. He thought he was Super Bowl MVP. You could call it a wrap. It was over. They were celebrating on the sidelines. And that miraculous comeback at the end. And the 49ers pulled out that Super Bowl. I mean, but Boomer did his part. He put his team in position, and he didn't have no household names. He was the leader of that team. And he went to the University of Maryland, so shout out to the Terps. But no, I can't put Boomer on this list. I agree. I think you got a good list there. I agree with it. I agree with the list. I mean, I really had to think about AJ Green, but he fell off the cliff. He fell off the cliff. You know what I mean? But the Bengals have had some really good receivers over the years. Shout out to whoever doing the drafting. They had some really good receivers. But yeah, Corey Dillon. Shout out to Corey Dillon. Honorable mention.
Yeah.
Honorable mention. All right, Justin, tell us about the Seattle Seahawks.
Seattle Seahawks. This might be one of the greatest moves in the offseason, or it might be one of the worst moves in the offseason. Why? The starting quarterback, Sam Darnold, who they had to get rid of, their former starting quarterback, and Geno Smith. So you're banking on Sam Darnold, who had a resurgence in Minnesota. But when they needed him the most, he went right back to the old Sam Darnold. If I didn't have those, and this is at the closeout of the season as well. So the closeout of the season into the playoffs, he went right back to the old Sam Darnold. And if I knew that that's what I saw, ain't no way. I got to go a different route. Can't do it. Cannot put the franchise as of right now on Sam Darnold. But, they chose to do that. They let go of DK Metcalf, and they brought in right now a rapidly aging Cooper Kupp. So the first thing I put was, can JSN, which is a stud, he's a stud, and Cooper Kupp be Sam Darnold's Justin Jefferson and Jordan Anderson? Absolutely not. That's a failed question, right? I had to put it out there, though, right? That's what they're looking for. And they're gonna rely heavy on the run. Can my man Walker and Charbonnet, can they continue to work together and then stay healthy? This is more so for my man Walker. He cannot stay healthy throughout the course of a season. It affects them. But when he's healthy, he can give you 3 touchdowns in a game. Like, this dude, he's legit when healthy. So and then their defense, can their defense form into can they come into top form? They was about average last year, They picked up the head coach that used to be our defensive coordinator, the Ravens defensive
Mike,
coordinator,
Mike McDonald.
Mike McDonald, and he wants that 2 years ago Ravens defense. He wants it. He's drafting in that way. They picked up DeMarcus Lawrence from the Cowboys. Hopefully, he got a little bit tread left on the tires. They want to do the 3 safety formation. They want that safety to fly around just like the Ravens did a couple years ago. Will it work? We don't know, and that's just that's the problem that they have. I will say this: I expect the defense to be better. I expect them to form into what he wants them to be. They will not be that Ravens defense, but they will be closer than what they were last year. And I just think they just doomed themselves in putting Sam Darnold in that position with those type of receivers. Now, will those receivers get about maybe 10 catches a game? Both of them? Possibly. They both can get 10 catches a game for a total of 150 yards. That's the problem. So that's Seattle. I got them coming in second, to, if not last in their division. I just don't think they're going to do enough. Really? I don't think they're going to do enough.
See, I see them a little differently. I really do. I think I have more faith in Mike McDonald. I think the guy has a scheme and a system that is productive. I think if Sam Darnold, and this is the caveat, Sam Darnold, which we saw him falter in big games last year, but for the most part, during the regular season, he played well. And he was not a game manager. He stretched the ball when need be. I think Mike McDonald's defense will be the key to this team being very, very competitive. And I have faith in some of the moves they made defensively. If you look at some of the players they add, they sneaky moves. They're not household names, but if you looked at how they played last year and then adding guys they didn't draft, I thought they had a solid draft this offseason. And I looked at what Mike McDonald does well and how he likes to build his defense. I think he's actually doing exactly what almost to a T, the blueprint he set here in Baltimore. And it starts with safety play, and it goes straight down the middle. If you look at what his defense is about, it's right down the gut. And he doesn't have a Roquan. Don't get me wrong.
I'm about to say the worst thing will be their linebackers. That's the problem.
Easily.
He doesn't have Roquan, but I think the mentality is there. And I think if they can add another piece, I'm not saying they're going to win the division, nothing like that, but the 49ers are going to take a step back. We don't know exactly what the Cardinals are. I think the Rams are the class of that division. But I think this team is going to be pretty competitive. And I'm pretty excited to see if Cooper Kupp can stay healthy. If Cooper Kupp can stay healthy, pairing him with Jackson Smith-Njigba, I think this team could really – I agree with you on Kenneth Walker. We never know what you're going to get. But when he is playing, the guy typically does put up some good numbers. So we'll see. Again, they're a question mark. But I wouldn't be surprised if we sit here week 8 like, wow, Seattle Seahawks are really competitive and keeping games tight. I think it'd be interesting. Calvin, your thoughts?
Okay, I'm not high on Sam Darnold. It wasn't last year. I don't know how you can bet your franchise on him going forward. I think there were better QB options, and even if one of those was keeping Geno Smith.
Ho! The guy who hates Geno. So you're saying
I hate Sam Darnold more.
Better than Sam Darnold. Okay.
I hate Sam Darnold more. So okay. What happened in Minnesota, I think, was a product of environment and just great receiver play, partly being indoors. You go to a division where you're primarily playing outside, where you're not home, when your home games are not indoors. I have to see Sam Darnold do it again. I have to see Sam Darnold do it with this wide receiver group. I have to see Sam Darnold do it with Cooper Kupp, who lost a step last year, and now he's going to be the 2. Can JSN be a number 1? I think that's the first thing. Can he step up from being a number 3 receiver to being a number 1 receiver, and being that receiver that needs to get open and needs to make these catches late in the games when you need those on key downs. So I do, however, have this team as second in the division. I think they're a tad bit better, especially defensively, than San Francisco. San Francisco lost a ton on defense. They lost Ward, and they lost the linebacker that went to Denver. They lost a lot on defense, and I'm still not, positive on what they're going to be on offensively. I think if you look at the combined offense and defense of the Seattle Seahawks versus San Francisco 49ers, you can make arguments that they are Seattle's more talented just at key positions on offense and defense. So I'm going to take Seattle second in the division. I don't know if that's enough to win a wild card because you still have the NFC North, you still have Philly and Washington in the NFC East. So they'll be fighting for a wild card. But I think, like you said, the Rams are classic division. The Seahawks are second, possibly battling with San Francisco. But quarterback play will be key. And will Sam Darnold give us a repeat of last year, what we saw for the majority of the year in Minnesota?
I agree. Justin, tell us who you have as your Mount Rushmore for the Seattle Seahawks.
I'll say this. This is probably one of the hardest
It's
teams.
very difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
Come up with a top four.
They got a lot of good players. They
got a lot of
right?
good players in different eras, different decades, and like top tier talents.
Hall of Fame.
So yes. I'll get Steve Largent out the way.
Mm-hmm.
He is everything that Cooper Kupp wants to be, right? Like, you know, when we look back at great wide receivers, especially those that don't fit the mold of everybody else. So he is probably one of the better ones, if not the best Caucasian wide receiver. 2, I will go with Walter Jones. When you talk about one of the greatest linemen of all time, he's up there. I like Sean Alexander. I'm gonna put Sean Alexander on my list. I understand if you don't want to. I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking it. But he over Matt Hasselbeck and everybody else, even the defensive. He was the main person that took him to the Super Bowl. It was him. They rode on his back. I'm going to give him his respect for that. That's 3. And I mean, I could go Cortez Kennedy. I could go Bobby Wagner. I could go Cam Chancellor. Like, it's a lot, but I'm gonna represent the Legion of Boom in Bobby Wagner. I'm going to put him there, because everyone else is very hard to decipher. And honorable mention goes to Russell Wilson.
Wow, man, that's
feel free.
I'm telling
you, I was torn, and I had to represent different eras and different teams.
Okay,
Calvin, who you got?
I was with you in your list. I got Steve Largent and Walter Jones. Get them out the way. I think those are the best 2 players in franchise history. Sean Alexander he only had 1 good year in my opinion, and I think Marshawn's a better running back career-wise. And he actually led them to a Super Bowl victory, and Sean Alexander did not. Now, granted, you can say it was the defense, but it could have went back-to-back off the strength of Marshawn. They could have went back off the strength of Marshawn. I'm going to go Cortez Kennedy. You know, he was all-decades team in the 90s. I think he made like 8 Pro Bowls in the 90s, and that's when Pro Bowls actually mattered. So I'm going to go Cortez Kennedy, one of the best defensive tackles in the 90s. And the last pick, I was looking at, Russ. I think he's the best quarterback in Seahawks history. Led him to a title, but he was really carried by that defense. So I'm gonna go with a different member a true member of the Legion of Boom, and Richard Sherman. That's my 4th pick.
You know, this is tough, man.
I like it.
I agree with both of y'all in many ways. You know what I mean? Like I think I agree. When you look at Mount Rushmore, it's not about being the most famous. It's not about being the most well-known to people outside of the organization. As we've been saying, if you live in Seattle, if you follow the Seahawks, who were the most important players to that franchise and were recognized with accolades to back it up? And I agree. Steve Largent definitely has to be on the list. Walter Jones definitely has to be on the list. As much as we can get wrapped up in, did it lead to winning? That Legion of Boom team, I felt like it was such a collection of talent. You needed, you know what I mean? You had the safeties needed the corners needed the linebackers. Everybody. So it's hard to just pick one person and say they represent the Boom. And
unlike let's say the Ravens,
Yeah,
They were so
people.
equal. They were equal. Ravens, you had Ray Lewis stands out. Every stands
Ray
out.
Lewis is the guy. You know what I mean?
Seattle's defense was so even.
Cam Chancellor
Evenly
needed
great.
Earl Thomas,
Tough.
Richard Sherman. You know what I mean? Like I don't think you can. So to me, I can't put any of them on the mount. I would have to put whoever was the leader of that. Like if Pete Carroll was like the defensive coordinator, you know what I mean? Like because he was more of a defensive.
We did coaches. I was about to put Pete Carroll on mine, but I chose not to.
Pete was a defensive minded guy. You know what I mean? Like if I'm going to put anybody on there, it would have been Pete, but I can't do that. When you got guys like, you know what I mean, Cortez Kennedy. Damn it. But then Marshawn, he is a face. But then Richard, I'm gonna go Russ. Russ won a Super Bowl, man. One of the first black quarterbacks too. Yeah, I know you can say he got some other stuff in there, but he's black. You know what I mean? And Russ deserved to be on Mount Rushmore. I'm going Russ is my fourth. So we all got something a little different.
Who's your third?
Cortez Kennedy.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, Walter Jones, Steve Largent, Cortez Kennedy, and Russell Wilson. That's my four. Again, I hate not having nobody from that Legion of Boom, but I can't. It's picking hairs. You know what I mean? Like it's picking hairs. Like if you could have one person that just says you the Boom, yeah, they all deserve to be on that mountain. Anyway, let's get to the Steelers. Look. This is a very interesting team. Last year, they did make the playoffs. We know that. They came up short against the Ravens, were outmatched in every way possible. Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. They went out and got him in the offseason. Is Aaron Rodgers the savior? No. Is he a veteran who can do things and take care of the football and play game manager at this point in his career? I think he can do that. I don't think he'll be terrible. I think for the Jets, it was a lot of issues behind why that team wasn't that good. But George Pickens not being on his team and replacing him with DK Metcalf, what kind of difference will that make for that offense? Who's the number 2 receiver? Like I really don't know if that is the difference in what makes this team better. From a running back perspective, you lose Najee Harris in the offseason. Who have you gone out and got to replace him that's going to make this offense more? When you got a veteran, older running back, is TJ Warren like the answer at running back? Is that somebody you're just going to be able to? They drafted a running back. Is he going to step up and be able to replace what you got from a Najee? Even though Najee wasn't great, he didn't play terrible last year. I thought the year before he wasn't as good. But the bigger thing, and I said this, when you go out and add all these veterans, you went out and made the move, getting rid of to go get Jalen Ramsey. Look, Jalen Ramsey was a phenomenal talent, a phenomenal player in his day. How much does he have left in the tank? We'll have to see. Darius Slay was a phenomenal talent in his day, but how much does he have left in the tank? We'll have to see. We already know we've seen issues in that secondary the last 2 years, which is why they probably made these veteran moves, thinking you'll get more discipline. And you got the ultimate liability at your linebacker position and Patrick Queen. So what is really that helping? But when you got the names, I mean, if you look at this roster, up and down, they got names everywhere, man. I mean, wow. You can put an all-pro team together with some of these guys if you look back over the course of their career. But how will they play as a unit? And when you go out and get veterans like this, you're in win now mode. This is Super Bowl or bust. And if you're telling me that this Steelers team is supposed to go and raise a Lombardi next season, I say you're crazy. But that's how they built the team. They're not building for the future. You don't get Aaron Rodgers to go get him for one more year, apparently, because he's even said this is his last year just to have fun. No, you're expecting to win a Super Bowl. And this roster ain't it. I'm sorry. They did a good job signing TJ Watt to his new contract. He's happy. He'll play well, but we know he get the injury bug as well. So it's just so many questions about the age and the health of some of these players. And I just think they bet on them. And then the head coach. I don't have, and we'll talk about this when we talk about head coaches. I think he's overrated, and I think going out and getting some of these veterans is not helping him much because, again, when you're dealing with veteran players, yeah, they know how to do things, but do they listen to the message the same way? Do they get invigorated to follow the leader as much as some of these, if you can mold young minds? I don't know. Because when you really got a coach, and most coaches will tell you this, some of your best and most gratifying coaching experiences when you're coaching young players who need to be molded and crafted. When you're coaching veterans who've been there, done that, ain't never won nothing, but they act like they did, then they have a certain mentality about it. When I look up and down this roster, DK Metcalf ain't never won nothing. When I look up and down this roster, Aaron Rodgers act like he won, but it was a long time ago. Aaron Rodgers has been a loser for a long time at this point, but he's a Super Bowl champ. Not going to take that away from him. But Patrick Queen ain't never won nothing. T.J. Watt, as great as he is, ain't never won nothing. Like, let's call it what it is. These guys ain't. They got good names, but that's all they are. I don't have much faith in this Steelers team. Third in the division at best. Justin, your thoughts? Steelers.
I'm second in the division.
Okay.
I just won't count this team out. This is strictly on the strength of Mike Tomlin. This is it. I want to say all those things you said was 100% correct. They ain't win nothing. You should title that segment. They ain't win nothing. That was a great one you just did. They ain't win nothing. But when you think they're supposed to lose, Mike Tomlin made it work when you didn't have quarterbacks. Kenny Brickett and all them boys, like picking and all them
but
boys.
You still don't.
I think Aaron is better. Aaron was barely better than Zach Wilson.
Russell Wilson?
No, you're talking about Zach Wilson on the Jets.
I said Zach Wilson. I know exactly what I said. I have nothing other than the fact that it's Mike Tomlin, bro. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Everything you said was spot on, but it's Mike Tomlin. He gonna make it work some kind of way because he hasn't. He showed me that that's all he does is not have a losing
500. You're right. 500. You're right. Calvin.
I think this is finally the year that pushes them to actually start a rebuild. You haven't had a quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger retired, 4 or 5 years ago. You tried Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph. Then you try,
Duck Hodges.
You tried a number of names, and I think you finally realize it starts with the quarterback position. Until you get a quarterback and develop him, you will not have success in the playoffs. They have great pieces around them. Like you said, they got a T.J. Watt. They got a Metcalf. They got a Cam Hayward. They got a ton of pieces around them. They just don't have a quarterback that can lead them consistently from start of the season to end of the season. We saw Russell Wilson fall off towards the end of the season last year. They went from first in the division up 2 games to finishing second in the division by 2 games. Like, I think this is the year that they start to see it. They have a ton of veterans. If those veterans can't stay healthy, who's behind them? You signed Ramsey and Darius Slay, but you already have Porter Jr., who's supposed to be your starting cornerback as well. Now, are you just trying to keep up with the Joneses? You're trying to keep up with Cincinnati? You were unable to beat them late in the season last year. It's just a lot of questions, in my opinion. And the most overrated stat, in my opinion, is Tomlin never having a losing record. All that basically says is you've been middle of the pack, and you haven't been able to draft a quarterback when you needed to. You can't develop one, you can't draft one. So you're 9-8. What does that really prove to you? That just means you're 9-8. You're going to go get another retread at quarterback next year. What's that going to get you? Contending for the playoffs, not making any noise when you get to the playoffs. When was the last time they won a playoff game? This was during Ben. This was maybe almost 8-9 years ago at that point. So are you content with saying, hey, we didn't have a losing record? What does that really mean at the end of the day? So it's just a lot of questions with this team. I have them contending for second, but I just want, can Rodgers stay healthy? Can Ramsey stay healthy? Can Darius Slay stay healthy? TJ Watt is TJ Watt. Not taking anything away from him, but we saw what happened with his defense in the postseason. I just feel like the clock will eventually run out on this team at some point in the year. I've been saying this for the last couple of years, but they're older this year. Your older teams, they start to run out. They start to get injured towards the late in the season, but it's just a lot of questions with this Pittsburgh team, in my opinion.
Yeah. Justin, you're a Rodgers guy. No, you're a Rodgers guy. Do you think that he's going to be able to get them over the hump? He's the
What
reason
is it?
why this team will be better. They go into the playoffs.
He won't be the reason why they go, but they
Okay.
can still go to the playoffs.
All right. I like to hear that. All right, good. All right, Mount Rushmore for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, guys, this is one of the most difficult ones, but I'm gonna make it short and sweet.
We could
This
probably
is
all have different players.
this is
And I'd
my
be okay
list.
with it.
I'm sticking with it. I don't care. Terry Bradshaw belongs on this list. You won 4 Super Bowl titles. Look, you had Lynn Swan. You had great players, but phenomenal defense. But you were the quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger belongs on this list. He is who he is. He belongs there. Number 3, Mean Joe Green belongs on this list. There's no debate in my mind. If you look at one person to represent that defense, I'm picking Mean Joe Green. And then, look, I could go for many people from them 70s teams else, but I got to go Troy Polamalu as my number 4th player to go on my list. That's my list for the Mount Rushmore Pittsburgh Steelers. The hair, the everything, that he belongs on the list. Calvin, who you got? Your 4.
I thought we would have different players. I agree with you on 3 of the 4. I agree with you on Bradshaw, Mean Joe Green, and Troy Polamalu. Polamalu was the second best safety during his prime. He was number 2, top 2, never number 1, though, in my opinion. But last, I've thought about going the bus. I thought about going Franco Harris. I don't know if I'm gonna go Big Ben. The Pittsburgh Steelers, in my opinion, have always been known for their defense, and I want to give this guy some shine. There's gonna be some pushback on this. I want to give this guy some shine, but in big games, he always stepped up. He always stepped up in the division, and we saw him a lot in our backfield. I'm gonna go with James Harrison.
What?
I'm gonna go with James Harrison, the best modern day defender of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
He wasn't even better than Joey Porter. What do you mean?
I ain't gonna say that.
James Harrison?
Yes, in his prime. Yeah.
No, I don't care what prime.
In
The
his
Ravens
prime,
cut him.
yes.
He went to Cincinnati.
In
Huh?
his prime, yes. And that was on the back in his career. So when he was winning Super Bowls in Super Bowl 40 against the Cardinals, he wasn't the best pass rusher in the league. He was never the best pass rusher in the league.
No,
I disagree with
No.
you on that.
he was never better than. Like, I can name 5 or 6 guys he wasn't better than.
I
You
disagree
gonna put him over Mel Blanc? Like, come
Yes.
on, man, stop
Yes.
it. Justin
Modern
Miller,
day,
who you
yes.
got?
All right, here we go. So no, I mean 3 out of the 4 I think is unanimous. I guess. Listen to everybody's list: Mean Joe, Bradshaw, and Troy. I wanted to put Ben, but I said no. I'm just being stubborn at this point. Nope, not gonna be able to do it. I wanted to go Franco Harris. I did, but I'm not. I wanted to go Jack Ham, Jack Lambert. These Hall of Famers. I won't. Who I'm going to pick is off the wall that shouldn't be on this list. I'm telling you now, he should not be on the list, but he made my list. Antonio Brown. I said it. Antonio Brown, 84. Goddamn right.
Better than Hines Ward. I put
Yes, he
Hines
was.
Ward on the Mount
Yes, he
Rushmore.
was.
of the
He
Pittsburgh
was better
Steelers.
than he's their best
He
receiver
was,
they
he
ever
was
had.
better,
More talented than Hines
as
Ward.
more talented, but as meaning to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Hines
Best
Ward was a
receiver
Steeler.
they ever had, and that is saying a lot.
Hines
Antonio
Ward
Brown.
would go on my Mount Rushmore if I'm going to pick a wide receiver or Lynn Swan. But I
Yes,
like
sir.
AB. He was crazy,
that.
man. He was a team
Check
destroyer. Anyway, good for
He was
you. I mean,
good in his
everybody got
prime.
it. Everybody got a list. So that's our preview for this
James
week.
Harrison.
That was pathetic. You should be
No,
ashamed of
doubting
yourself.
that 4 to 5 year run that he had.
It wasn't 4 to 5 years. I want you to pull some
It
stats.
was like 2 years.
It was at least
You
3.
went defense. Out of everybody had on defense.
It was at least
Yo,
3.
James
That was
Harrison probably wouldn't even make my top 10. Like, stop it.
At least 3.
Anyway, let's pull out our we're going to do our top 5 instead of top 10. Who are your top 5 NFL coaches right now in the league? We like to do this from time to time, just mix it up. So, Justin, I'll start with you. Number 5 on your list, top coaches in the NFL. Who you got?
Number 5, just because I mentioned him earlier, Mike Tomlin.
Okay, Mike T. Reasoning? Just because he doesn't lose, like completely.
Just
I mean, he loses.
Get away.
All right. Larry has, look, man, it's a lot of good coaches in this league, but I have to give some love to my guy, John Harbaugh, number 5 on my list. Now, some people say, oh, that's too low. Look, when you have as much talent as the Ravens have had over these years, and you haven't been able to win with Lamar Jackson and win with these teams, yeah, you won a Super Bowl in 2012, but I think this team has underachieved. So right now, no, he's not my top 2. No, he's not my top 3. He's number 5. Not because other players have more Super Bowls, other coaches have more Super Bowls, none of that. No. What have you done with the talent, and what have you come up big in the playoffs? So no, number 5 on my list, John Harbaugh. Calvin, number 5 on your list.
Dan Campbell. This is a guy that we first talked about with biting ankles and that gritty mentality, and he just led a team to 15-2 record. A Detroit team that was 0-16 about 15 years ago and just had that stigma of losing. And he took that team to 15-2, best record in NFC, and they lost in the playoffs. But he's improved every year with that team. He just lost two of his coordinators, offensive and defensive coordinator as well. But he's built a powerhouse, a great team, a team that perennially contends for the NFC North. So I'm gonna give Dan Campbell some love.
All right, who's number 4 for you, Calvin?
I got Harbaugh at 4. He's got the tenure. The last couple of years, when you have the best team arguably in the league and you come up short, it's going to knock you down a couple pegs on my list. But to take this team and transform it from a defensive team to an offensive team, to take Lamar Jackson, put him in his element, and build around him, and arguably have the best quarterback in the league. This Baltimore Ravens team has never been over offense, but now they have the potential to have the most explosive offense every year, and it starts number 8. And everything that revolves around him and how he makes everyone better. And to be able to implement that system, to be able to show the promise and show how much you believe in your quarterback and build from there takes a lot, especially, like I said, when there was a quarterback that you had to kind of build up and to kind of put your stamp on. So I give him credit for that. I got Harbaugh at 4.
I mean, I hear you. Like I say, I got him at 5 on my list, so it's not like it's far off. But for me, number 4, and I get it. Somebody might look at this and say, I don't know, but look, a champion is a champion, and I think he has a team that is really has a chance to do something big this year. I'm going Sean McDermott. I could go higher.
That's
your list right there.
You know me, Sean McVay. You know
okay.
what I mean. McVay is one of those coaches. I think he's an offensive-minded coach. I think he got a lot out of that team last year. And look, I was flipping-flopping between putting him at 4 or 3. I think he could easily go at 3 on this list, but there's a reason why I'm putting him here on this at number 4 on my list. But I think the way this team turns out this year will determine if he goes a little higher on my list. But I think he's a really good coach. Justin, who you have at number 4?
A little earlier in the week, and really the only thing
Who playing Shannon Sharp?
It was me. I thought it was on me. My fault.
Damn sure was not. Yeah, I was looking. Is that all the coaches you got right there? That's the one you picked.
Go ahead, you go ahead. Pick who you got. I got a lot.
Oh my goodness.
Goddamn right, Calvin. You already know. We gonna put Todd Bowles on that list, man. Number 4.
Todd Bowles does not belong on this list. You criticize Todd Bowles weekly on it.
A playoff coach. He just waiting for his opportunity. It's gonna be this year.
All right, well, you got Todd Bowles. All right, I done got him. All right, number 3 for you.
Number 3. So who I got number 3? Hold on. Let me look at my
You ain't
list
even had
here.
Todd Bowles' picture.
No, I ain't got it.
It's
Who the hell will have Todd Bowles?
not gonna pick him. Yeah, I'll go with him. John Harbaugh, number 3.
So why you have him at 3?
For the simple fact that when I know that a Harbaugh is a coach, he will change his philosophy. It doesn't matter. He will change who he is for whatever talent he has. He blends in well with Ray Lewis. He did a phenomenal job with that. And then Reed didn't necessarily push them out. Stood behind Flacco, stood behind Rice. And now with another iteration of the Ravens, he's right there leading the way. So multiple different teams and still the same guy. I gotta give him some love for that.
I mean, I understand. For me, and I know this might be a little controversial, but the man has made it to the Super Bowl. Has he won it as many times or at all? No. But I think that a lot of that is due to injury, and he's gotten quarterbacks to me who weren't that great. The man got Jimmy G. The man, like he's done a great job, and I think he's just one of the best minds in this game. And I'm going with Shanahan. I think he's a very, very good coach. Health has not been on his side. Team building from a perspective of, hey, how many running backs did this guy go through every year? How many receivers in and out of the lineup? But they've been to the Super Bowl. They get that. They just can't get over the hump with a Jimmy G or who the quarterback they just signed. Brock Purdy. You know what I mean? These ain't no first round picks or no high impact guys. These are Joes, Jimmys and Joes. And this offense and the way he's able to design these plays and get teams deep into the playoffs, this year might be a down year for them because of health again. But hey, it is what it is. I give Shanahan credit. Number 3 best coach in the league right now for me. And that just edges out McVay just a tad. I know I could flip-flop McVay and him, but I think they're real close. I think they're close. Calvin, who's you?
I got McVay at 3. Just the offensive genius that he is, just the ability to take a Jared Goff early in his career and parlay that into a Super Bowl appearance. Him building up that defense basically with second and third rounders, kind of no-name guys, so to speak, and turn them into household names. So I give McVay credit there. And 2, I'm going to go Andy Reid.
Ooh.
I'm going to go Andy Reid at 2. The resume speaks for itself. Andy Reid is going to go down in the Hall of Fame. He's an offensive genius from late years in Philadelphia with taking a low profile quarterback there in Donovan McNabb and building him up to a Super Bowl contender. Turning him from nothing to partially something. But more so what he does with Patrick Mahomes and leading that Kansas City offense. I got Andy Reid at 2.
That's interesting.
Yes, that was Donovan McNabb. So I see you looking at me. Hate that man. Terrible.
Number 2 right now for me, and look, that's number 3 for me. No.
It's number 2.
Damn, did I miss something? Yeah. I'm going with Dan Campbell. I'm going with Dan Campbell.
You got second thoughts?
Yeah, I do. But I'm going with Dan Campbell. I just think this guy's a leader of men. I told you, I was on record. I was ahead of this curve. A few years ago, when he came out that press conference, talking about bite ankles and all that, I said, I like it. That man is a lead. I like the energy. I love the veracity. I like the cachet that he brings to the game, the charisma, and he invigorates a ball club. He turned that no-nothing Detroit team into a powerhouse now, and they are expected to take another step this year, and I love it. I love it. And Dan Campbell, I'll follow him. If I was a player, that's the type of coach I want. So, yeah, might not have the hardware to back it up yet, but that's the type of guy I want leading my team. Justin?
Next, one, put the other black guy, the same one I just picked, put him in my tall ball spot. Y'all ain't picking Mike Tomlin. Put Mike Tomlin, double up Mike Tomlin.
There you go.
As a placeholder. There you go. I appreciate you.
Who's your 2-1?
2-1. My man Nick, Philadelphia, Nick Sirianni. 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years. Got one, and has a team primed and ready. He went through a lot of stuff, man. Just a lot of issues. People didn't know it was him. People didn't know it was coordinators. They got rid of his coordinators, and all he did was just win. On top of that, that is very impressive. And number one, Andy Reid. I don't see how he's not number one. It's very fishy for me, Calvin. That's just looks like there's a lot of hate coming out of that.
No, we're no hate. We're no hate. No hate.
For me,
let's go to Super Bowl.
As you clearly can see, Nick Sirianni did not make my top 5. I just think, look, no disrespect. Yeah, it is disrespect. The guy had the most talented rosters in NFL both times he won the Super Bowl. Look, it is what it is. Again, it's why I put Harbaugh at below like I did. These other coaches, they made something out of nothing. Shanahan, he still make it there with injury after injury and issue after issue and still makes a competitive team on the team. Harbaugh underachieved with talent all over the field and one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Andy, number 1 on my list because with Patrick Mahomes, he's always going to be in contention. Even last year, we knew it was a down year for the Chiefs. They still made it to the Super Bowl. You can't do nothing but bow down and respect that. Sirianni, if he couldn't get that team with Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, I mean, player after player, Pro Bowl at every position, and so much so that they was like, just hand the ball off. Just hand the ball off. Run the ball. Like, with so much, like, he had no control over that team. Yeah, they won, but they won despite him in some ways. I say that, and I stand on it. So, no, he don't get the credit for me. Andy, number 1 on this list. Calvin, who's your number 1 coach then?
I'm going to give it to Nick Sirianni. I mean, I agree with everything y'all say, but what my response to that will be, 2 years ago, this team was 10-1. They had some mutiny, some revolt, something that we haven't talked about in that locker room, and then losing the first round of playoffs. And everyone expects that to carry over to the next year by mainly having the same team. They come back, win the division, win the conference, and win the Super Bowl. So that change in the locker room, that aura change, was all led by Nick Sirianni, in my opinion. Now, granted, this is going off the field, just going out of coaching. But just for him to turn around that locker room amidst whatever happened 2 years ago when they were also the favorite, they also basically had the same team outside of Saquon, and then they fall down the stretch tremendously and go from, I believe it was 9-1, 10-1 to out of the first round. You got to give Sirianni some credit. And then when they make to the playoffs this year, they dismantle the Chiefs. Close. I'm gonna give him credit for that as well, to beating Andy Reid, to beating that offensive genius, to beating Patrick Mahomes, arguably the greatest quarterback ever. I'm gonna give him credit for that. Those 2 years right there, and that's just the last 2 years, speak volumes to what Nick Sirianni and that coaching staff has done in Philadelphia. And I'm gonna give him credit for that because I'm gonna take away credit from Jalen Hurts, as I did last week. So I give Sirianni some credit.
I give credit to Howie Roseman. That's who deserved the credit for putting that all-star roster together. Nick Sirianni, he did his job, but I don't even give, like, the offensive defensive coordinators did their job. He stood there with a clipboard. Yeah, he don't call plays. What do he do? Nothing.
Coach a team to win a Super Bowl.
So
they got one.
So Harbaugh coaches offensive defense?
No, that's why he's number 5 on my list, because all he had to do was manage his team to a victory. I can't deny that he gets winning.
Dan Campbell coaches offensive defense?
Dan Campbell is inspirational on that defense. Yes, he is. He's
inspirational. That Aaron Glenn got a head coaching gig because he runs that defense. That's how inspirational Dan Campbell is.
Watch it be no fall off this year. Watch it be no fall off.
They got the same players. I hope it's no fall off. They just healthier this year. So
Dan Campbell, didn't he make your top 5, Justin? What is your thoughts?
He all right. What you want me to say? He came out in the way. He's decent in Detroit. They got a hell of a staff. They got great players all around the board. I'm still waiting for him to coach.
Oh, but Sirianni coaching. Okay. All right. Yeah. Makes no sense. It makes no sense. It makes
went to Super Bowl twice.
Again, we'll see. Very interesting. I'll listen. We'll track this. I'm going to save this.
That list is basically my list right there. That picture. and you add Todd Bowles for that Bengals spot, that's my list. My list is
Zach
cupcakes
Taylor
right now.
You the only one that had Mike Tomlin. So
Yeah, Mike Tomlin twice. Pathetic. Nobody in their right mind will put Todd Bowles on there. That's ridiculous. All right, let's move on to the NBA. News that came out today: Gilbert Arenas was arrested. Apparently, he and some partners were running an illegal gambling ring. They were having like gambling parties out of his house where they had like set up like they had women there. They had that was very nice the way they laid it out. I'm sure it would have been a good time, but I guess they got cracked
allegedly or something.
It seemed allegedly, but included a suspected high-level member of the Israeli transnational organized crime group. So he was in business with the mafia. Were arrested today on federal indictment alleging they operated an illegal gambling business in which high-stakes poker games were played in Chino Hills, basically, where Arenas lives. Calvin, when you heard this news, what was your thoughts?
What makes I haven't looked into it, but what makes a high-stakes poker game illegal? Was it the member of the Israeli transnational group that was there? What makes it illegal? Now, some of the details started to come out that with the money that was involved, the security that was involved, the people that were attending, some of the other entertainment that seemed to all kind of add to it. But what really was it like was it for play? Like you were charging people to, huh?
He was on some
Diddy. Answer that question real quick.
Go ahead, Justin.
It says high-stakes poker games become illegal when they involve taking a rake, which is a fee or cut of the pot taken by the personal entity running the game
without being a governmentally taxed. Yeah, you gotta have a license. It's like running a casino.
Okay.
Yeah,
the house was getting paid basically.
So he needed money that much that he had to take whatever percentage of the fee to get in.
He said, "Look, y'all playing at my spot. Y'all gonna break me off some bread."
Okay.
And for all we know,
was doing pretty good.
It's a good question. Was Gilbert even there, or did he just own the house that the things was happening at? Because he was the owner of the house, he gets,
Yeah. I know one of the charges was lying to the Feds, so.
Yeah. Because they've been investigating it for a few years, clearly.
Yeah. They said it took place in 21, 22.
Yeah.
So it's been a long investigation for it to just, make it out 4 years later.
So. It's a RICO case, so it's going to be interesting. Each charge carries 5 years in jail, so we'll see. It's just interesting that this comes out just a week after Marcus Morris, who's been on ESPN regularly, him and his brother during the NBA season. They were on Get Up every morning just about covering the NBA. Well, he was arrested. Apparently, he had a $250,000 debt to a casino. If you don't know, if you go to a casino, sometimes you get a marker where you don't have cash on you. You don't go to the ATM and take out so you only can take out $1,000. Some banks allow you to take out $1,500 at an ATM or $1,200 a day, something like that. So the casinos will basically be the bank for you. They'll front you the big time cash so you can play. It's create a marker, and all you gotta do, you win, of course, you subtract that from whatever you won, and you pay them back. If you lose, you just cover that debt once you're able to do the transfer of funds from your bank to another. But again, certain banks, they don't gonna let you take no big transfer out unless you go into a bank, take the money out. So he had two markers, extensive markers at two different casinos, but apparently he had bag checks. He didn't have the money to cover the amount of money that he had the marker for, and he tried to pay them. And when they went to go cash the check or whatever like that, it was fraudulent. So he tried to say, nah. His brother came out saying, man, he got that money at the crib. They ain't had to make this a big thing. But clearly, they didn't just do this, for fun. They tried to get the money from the guy. He didn't pay the money. So either the ESPN checks wasn't clearing in time, or this has been going on for a while, and he was on ESPN as much as he was here recently to try to make that money back. So he's been out the league for a year or two. A lot going on with that. But what's your thoughts on this one, Justin?
You know, we got to stay out of these casinos, man. Casinos, online gambling, betting on man. Because you know, baseball players getting jammed up and stuff like that. They are watching everything, and when you think they're not watching, that's when you need to know that they are watching. So this ain't nothing that you want to play with. They are waiting for you to mess up. They are waiting for you to act shady. They are waiting for you to just be suspicious in any kind of way, and they gonna come when they want to come, Paul. So, hopefully it's not that serious. Hopefully they can get it, I guess, squashed in a relatively smooth fashion. But yeah, man, stop playing with these casinos, man. Yeah. I got some more information on Gil too. I'll wait till y'all go.
Go ahead, Calvin.
Yeah, I mean, he released a statement kind of saying like he wished they would have, played this out mob style instead of going like that. But they want their money back. That's how plain as day. What's the information you got? Pique my interest.
And this might have cost him more money because he might lose his job.
You know, definitely gonna be ESPN.
Crazy. Go ahead, Justin.
So Gilbert just posted on his IG 11 minutes ago. So right before we got started, I'm back on the streets. This ain't got nothing. This ain't got ish to do with me. Just rented the house. Wasn't a part of the festivities.
I knew it. Yeah, that's what I figured. He bought the mansion, probably rented out as an Airbnb or something like that, and they just did some stuff inside. Or that's it's going to be what he alleges at least. You know what I mean? Like people do that. You know what I mean? Like, you rent out. You have investment properties. Somebody rent out your property, but if they got the evidence, they ain't gonna bring this RICO charge up if they don't think that they are definitely interlinked. So it'll be interesting how it play out. Let's move to some baseball. So the Baltimore Orioles, the trade deadline has passed, and
it's over tomorrow.
So by the time we live. So yeah, it's not over yet. But Soto was traded to the Mets. I know there was a trade yesterday during the Toronto, like in the middle of the game between the Blue Jays and the Orioles. There was a trade made as well. Give us the update. What are some of the moves that have happened? What's on the horizon? Anything you think could really make this team any better, or are they offloading talent? What's your thoughts? I'll start with you, Calvin.
The Dominguez trade yesterday from
Sir
Baltimore, Toronto. Yes, Sir Anthony Dominguez. There we go. So right now, in my opinion, they're just offloading. They're really they're trying to get a frontline pitcher. I think they have 3/5 of their starting pitchers for next year. So I think they're trying to get pitching. They're offloading contracts of players who won't be here next year because they'll be a free agent. So I look for Mullins to get traded sometime over the next day. I think he played his last game in Baltimore today. Had a phenomenal catch, taking away a home run as well today. I think he's gone today. Maybe even looking at a Mayo that will go just in an effort to get a better starting line pitcher as well. But I think you'll expect to see definitely a Mullins, maybe an O'Hearn going out the door tomorrow. But I definitely expect the Orioles to be busy. I appreciate them waiting until the last moment and kind of getting shut out some of the players based off the pricing of those players. So I think they should have been made moves, continue to make moves over the weekend. But I think you'll definitely see some moves tomorrow from the Orioles, and this will be a younger team come Friday when they hit the field again.
Justin, your thoughts?
Calvin's pretty much spot on. I just wish that he wasn't, to be honest with you. I just wish that we didn't have to go through this. I just wish that we wasn't going to go younger, because now we got to wait for talent to develop again. I wish we were more buyers, even if we don't necessarily win the season. Let's just get some talent in, but that's not necessarily the case. So it's just looking bad right now for the foreseeable future. Grayson Rodriguez, they shut him down. Basically, he's done for the season. He ain't even play. That's not a good start. Our closer, what's the closer name again? The one that just got hurt. Batista, yes. He's pretty much done. And they just said that he got issues with his arm. So he's going to be done for the season.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
It came and went. But it mostly went. And they don't even know what's going on with Grayson. They don't even know. They just throwing darts at the wall.
They know. They just don't. He was trying not to have Tommy John. But I guarantee you'll hear.
That's another year off.
Correct.
So,
because he's got the same injury as Garrett Cole. So
excellent. So we know it's just now next year is a little bit doom and gloom, but it is what it is. But going back to the Sir Anthony Dominguez trade, my man got traded in between the doubleheader, in a sense, in a back-to-back game,
and then pitched
to the other team.
What we doing? That was, I don't know if that happens too much in baseball. I would like to see how often that happens, that you're on one team yet one day, and then the next day you pitching against the said team that you just was on. That had to be definitely a weird feeling. Shout out to whoever got that jersey made. Shout out to that.
Sure. Because they had that joint ready. So
it's gonna be tough. Shout out to the wifey. Shout out to the wife. Yes. Last time we went younger, it was a rough, slow start. Pause. Yes, it's gonna be an interesting season next year.
Yeah, but I will say the Orioles have been on a little run here lately. I know they lost today 9-8. They've been scoring
6.
They've been scoring some runs, dog. I mean, 18 one game, 16 another, 11, like double digits damn near every night, and putting a lot of runs on the board. I don't know if it's too little too late, but of course they're not winning the pennant or nothing like that. But I mean, at least it's giving the guys something to look forward to. I know next week.
No, it's not.
Saturday,
no, don't fall for that. That's your problem. Don't fall for that. I fell for that all goddamn season.
Next Saturday, I'll be at the yard for Adam Jones night. You know what I mean? Get my little bobblehead.
That's a great night. That's a great night to go.
Yeah.
See my man go into the Ring of Fame or whatever. Get his, that's a cool thing. And they've been winning. Like, look. If you look at the standings, they still like 14 games back. But the wild card, they only 9. You know what I mean? Like 50 wins. Hey, 50 wins used to be a good threshold for this sorry team when we were sorry. When we were sorry, 50 wins was still a long way off.
So,
Now you ain't 90, long way to go. You still got August and September to make some noise. Can they make a turnaround? Calvin, you were there the other day with all the home runs and stuff.
It was there. Me and the wife were there yesterday. Oh, shout out to Cedric Mullins. Tossed the ball in the stands, caught it. So I actually got official Major League Baseball. So that was what's up. I think at this time you're getting your young talent ready for next year. So I want to see if Mayo is still here. I want to see him playing every day. Basayo is still here. I want to see him up and catching, DHing, rotating with Adley. I want Adley to get some more plate appearances, kind of get back into the swing of things. I want this team to just be able to score runs. I don't expect much from the pitching staff. You're trying to figure out what you're doing for next year. You're getting, I believe, Gibson back in a week or two. So you're going to get some pieces back, but I really want to see these young players playing every day. So if it's a left-handed pitcher, don't care. Want to see you in the lineup every day for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Justin, any hope at all? Any hope, Justin?
Last week I threw the towel. What else you want me to do?
Well,
the towel, right?
Let's at least make it fun, guys. They scoring a lot of runs. People love scoring. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to watch a game 3-2. But if you can score 9-8 and lose, hey, at least you toughed it out. You know what I mean? Put some runs on the board, keep the guys entertained, make fans want to buy a ticket, come to the yard. Tired of seeing how many people was in the yard yesterday, Calvin?
7,500. I mean, look, it was a 12:30 game, so it was an afternoon game, and it was hot. It was hot.
Yeah.
So.
But we'll see, man. No, Nick, you can't do that. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Don't give up on hope. Don't give up on hope.
Hope gave up on us.
Yeah, it's true. All right, let's move on to topic that I was putting off until now, but let's get into it. This past week, last week to be in fact, The world got the news that the WWE announced that Hulk Hogan, TMZ actually reported the story initially.
TMZ breaks
I
the
think
story. You know it's
think
true.
about 3 weeks ago, I came on and I said that there was reports that Hulk Hogan was sick. Bubba the Love Sponge had reported it, and nobody believed him. Everybody know that Bubba and hadn't got any, hadn't had any, contact with Hulk in a while. So people said, how in the world could he have any knowledge of this? And then everyone was denying that was an issue. So again,
Heard it from Jimmy.
Hogan uh, on last Thursday, news broke Hulk Hogan had passed away. A lot of people have spoken on this subject, but Calvin, haven't heard from you. What are your thoughts on the passing of Hulk Hogan?
So like when I think about my earliest recollection of wrestling, it's probably mid '90s, but it was past the prime of Hulk Hogan. But if you're a wrestling historian, you know what he did, and this is prior to NWO, which was a huge hit as well. But in my opinion, you don't wish ill on anyone, but you don't have to separate the person from the character. What has transpired over the last 10 or so years can leave a bad taste in your mouth based off what he said and things that have come out. And that can make you form an opinion of of how you look at him unfavorably. So it's hard to not hard. You have to accept that truth that that's who he was, even though that's not what he pretended to portray on TV for 20 or 25 so years. But it's hard to separate the two. It it's like someone said, this isn't my child. This isn't Stone Cold or someone like that. That would be have a profound impact and be profoundly harder to deal with. This is like, okay, so look, your last interaction with the WWE wasn't favorable, but I think was warranted. A lot of people didn't like that, but I didn't have a problem with it. It wasn't popular to see you on TV. It wasn't something I needed to see going forward with the WWE. So I just leave it at that.
Justin, I know you spoke on this on your podcast over the weekend, but for those who didn't tune in there, give us your thoughts on the death of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, over the weekend we talked about this on We Talk Comebacks Sundays, 3:00. This was tough. This was tough to articulate altogether. The him himself made it easy though. I don't think it's hard to separate the person from the character. I think he infused them both, so he is what they say he was. But you want to get off. You can start off by saying, is he one of the greatest heels of all time? No doubt. Number one. Is he one of the greatest faces of all time? No doubt. One. So he is polarizing in the world of wrestling itself. There was nothing bigger than Hulkamania when Hulkamania was on the route. There was nothing bigger than the NWO when NWO was taking off. Like he owns both of them. Him and the creative teams and all that. Shout out to Unreal. But when you hear the allegations and people like the Iron Sheik, people like Macho Man, and people like Tony Atlas, when these guys are saying certain things about Hulk, then it's like, well, I don't know. Is it true? Is it not? Is it not? Then he gets caught with the 2015 tape or whatever the case. That right there, and like I said, people like to put that in a bubble. It's not a bubble. That right there puts credence on everything else that was alleged against him in his previous past, and that's how I take it. That's why it's not hard for me to separate the person from the character himself. So he made a living out of burying talent, and people say, "Well, he's not as bad as other people." I say, "Yeah, that's true. That's true." But at the same time, when you bury talent, when you bury people's careers, then that's their livelihood. That's their families. That's being taken, getting shots at. So that's what he did. So he squashed a lot of people, and didn't do his just due to promote and put people over. I think it's all about checks and balances when it comes to wrestling. It's all about helping the next man eventually. And I don't think Hogan did that, not nearly enough. So he's selfish. He was selfish. He was definitely egotistical. He was all these things. He lied in Congress. The judge felt sorry for him when it came to the steroids thing and just said, "Don't even worry about it. We just want to watch it. Don't even worry about that part." So he didn't necessarily have to admit that publicly and everything like that. So it's a lot of stuff, man. It's a lot of negative stuff around Hogan, man. And it's hard to feel sorry for an individual like that. It's hard to feel sad for that individual. And like Calvin said, I probably caught on a little bit before Calvin. So mine was like 93. So when I started to watch wrestling, so that's Bret Hart. That's Bret Hart's time. Bret Hart started to take make his increase, his climb to the top. So that's my guy. Like I said, so some of these allegations end up going to Bret, then yes, I might feel what other people are feeling, but I don't right now. So and Bret doesn't have that. And then for him to blame his hometown, this is Hulk Hogan I'm talking about now, Port Florida, saying that, we just talk about it from then on. It's just kind of how I grew up. No, they don't. And multiple people from Port Florida said, we don't do that. Don't put that on. That's all him. And if he didn't know, people like Bad News Brown made it clear to other people like Andre the Giant, which he had a run-in on one particular tour bus, whatever the case, saying, don't call me that. I don't like when people call me. Don't call me that. You shouldn't say that word. It's negative. Don't do it. He checked Andre, and Hulk came out his way to talk to Bad News Brown and said, I ain't never seen nobody talk to Andre like that. So it must be serious. And this is in the mid 80s. So if he knew then, and then he gets caught with all this other stuff, it's on him, man. He's a bad guy. And I just rested there. There's nothing else that needs to be said. I didn't shed no tears.
Well, that was great. Well spoken by both of you on your perspective on the life of Hulk Hogan. As for me, anybody who knows me knows I grew up a pro wrestling fan from basically out the womb. My family, pro wrestling was like their pastime. They watched roller derby. If you know anything about roller derby and how big that was back in the day, they watched roller derby and pro wrestling. That was their family entertainment. Football and all that was great, fine, basketball, cool. But roller derby and pro wrestling. So me, I had no choice but to watch wrestling. And while my father and all my uncles, I had 14 aunts and uncles, they all enjoyed, Bruno Sammartino and the likes of those Pedro Morales and Superstar Billy Graham and those guys from yesteryear. When I come along, there was Hulkamania. And Hulk Hogan was the sole reason I became a pro wrestling fan. And this was in the 80s. I was so captivated by 5 things back in the 80s and early 90s. You could not debate me on Hulk Hogan in the WWF. WCW, once that came along, that was later. But Hulk Hogan was a superhero to me. Hulk Hogan was the likened to watching the X-Men because they were also on that list for me. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I wore the shirt tonight. That was like everything to me. Pee Wee Herman. That was like everything to me as a kid. That was a list of things. If you grew up in that time point in life, you couldn't turn on Saturday morning and not see Superstars, X-Men, Pee Wee's Playhouse, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The X-Men used to come on right after wrestling. Those things were synonymous with our childhood, with people who I grew up with. So yes, Hogan was larger than life. And people say, why do so many people connect with Hulk Hogan? Because at a certain age, when you watch wrestling, you look for things that jump out to you. The guys who wore the black trunks, that really wasn't nothing that grabbed your eye. But the guy wore red and yellow. The Ultimate Warrior come later. He wore the neon colors. Randy Savage had the bright, shiny, neon color outfits. That you liken that to watching a comic, reading a comic book, or watching things that pop out at you. It's a mentality thing when you're young like that. That's why Bret Hart wore the pink. That's why Shawn Michaels and the Rockers, they wore the neon colors, and they were the fan favorites. But anyway, Hogan was the guy. And Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan as the mega powers, you couldn't tell me nothing. Anyway, I got into wrestling huge, and I followed it all the way through school. And then I never forget it. My father, we went for Father's Day one year because we used to go to wrestling all the time, but it was Great American Bash in Baltimore. And it was Randy Savage with Ric Flair, and Hogan wasn't there. And I was like, dang, we wanted to see the Hulk. Hogan had not been there. The next month, Hogan turns heel at Bash at the Beach when he leg drops Randy Savage and becomes the biggest heel in the business. There's nothing that was bigger at the time than the NWO, Hogan. That sparked a whole nother era, and that was the Attitude Era. WCW was dominating WWF. Then all of a sudden, that sparked Steve Austin to come along, DX, The Rock. And then that's when a whole generation of other fans came on. You could watch WCW on one channel with the NWO and Sting and all those guys. You could watch WWF with Steve Austin and Rock. Now, this time, you in middle school about to go and, everybody go talking about the Attitude Era when you were in school. If you was a wrestling fan, it became more popular. So you got the young age when you was a kid, Hulkamania era. Now you in your adolescent years, you growing up, you got that NWO. He's a bad guy, but he become the cool bad guy with Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. It's cool to watch wrestling at that time, which it wasn't always cool. So again, two different eras, Hogan's still a constant. So again, as you evolve, of course you learn more. Of course you looking at, I was always, I wanted to know more about backstage. I want to know what's the interworking. So some of these stories that you're stating, they're false, but yet that's the story's been told. Oh, Hogan did this, Hogan did that. But this can be said. Prior to all of that, if Hogan was on the card, everybody made more money. That's just the bottom line. If Hogan was booked and you were on that card, I don't care if you was Tony Atlas, Rocky Johnson, who's never had a bad thing to say about Hulk Hogan. Tony Atlas, who never said Hogan held me down. You know, he said Hogan got me paid because Hogan was the star of that era. And I liken that to, I bring up those two names because I think people are trying to lump things and transition. What Hogan did in 2015, right, is complete and utter evil. Wrong, but he was exposed for his racist thoughts. And he deserved to be called out for that and ostracized. And guess what the wrestling community did? Called him out and ostracized him. Until his last appearance, he was called out, booed, and ostracized. And I think that's the correct response. And that's what we should do. We should have the personal conviction within ourselves to treat these people according to how they treat us. He let us know how he felt about us. Before we knew, we had no clue. We had no knowledge of his innermost thoughts. Remember, for those who don't know, Hulk Hogan was videotaped without his knowledge, having a conversation with a woman, and that's when the comments were made. He didn't go on an interview and say this. He didn't say it to a friend, and then they reported hearsay. We actually heard the comments because he was recorded and it was broadcast, and he sued the company that leaked the tape and all that, a lot of stuff behind that. But once you're made knowledgeable of it, then you're supposed to hold people to that. No, we're not going to let you off the hook. And that's why. So, but while we have great memories, those who are fans of Hulk Hogan growing up, and you two neither were, so you don't count for this. This is for people who are watching this, who I know loved Hulk as a kid, loved him. While we can acknowledge that he was a great fan favorite who we enjoyed to enjoy growing up, you also have to look at that and say, once he did what he did in 2015, it kind of washes away any type of ignorance that we might have had, because it's just like the Bible say, once you become aware of the things. You can't hide your head in the sand. You can't be ignorant. Ignorant is not bliss. It's not, we just want to knowingly act like it didn't happen. It happened. And we know, and we have to handle it as such. But that doesn't erase your memory or say, I remember when I was a kid and I had no knowledge of him doing those things. It's like a Bill Cosby. I had no clue Bill Cosby was roofing people or drugging people. I had no knowledge that R. Kelly was out here taking advantage of young kids and stuff like that when I was enjoying his music. But once you become knowledgeable of it, now you can't be ignorant, and you have to treat people for what for who they are. Hulk Hogan, complex human being, but to hate people and to display the type of comments he did, he was rightfully treated for the past 10 years. Now, I know some of you all might not have known about this in 2015, so you might have only been finding out about it since he died. But this is not new to those who have been covering wrestling, knowing about this story since 2015. So some of us have had longer to absorb it, longer to come to grips with it. If you go to CostumeCreation.com, I wrote an article about this in 2015, wrote another article in 2018, did a whole video dissertation on it, wrote a whole piece when I was in college after the fact about the impact of Hulk Hogan on wrestling. And then I did an amendment to that later because of all the things that came out. So again, I know everybody who's watching this is not a wrestling fan, so you might just be finding out new information that you didn't know. But there's a lot of information that's been talked about Hulk Hogan. He's dead. Some people are celebrating. Completely you're right. Some people, it doesn't bother them one bit. Completely you're right too. Some people are mourning their childhood and the great memories they once had. That's their choice. I choose to remember what he did in 2015. I also choose to remember where I was in 1989. Like, two things can be true, but at the end of the day, he's dead. What you gonna do? Bring him back? You can't. My thoughts, first time I spoke on it publicly, but again, go back and read some of them articles I wrote in the past if you want more background on just the depth of some of the experiences and the impact Hulk Hogan had career-wise on the entire wrestling business. This guy took wrestling to a whole different platform. But again, he destroyed his own legacy. That's on him. Any thoughts before we move on? All right. Next up, WWE had a documentary that came out on Netflix the other day called WWE Unreal. Very interesting documentary. My plan was to only watch the first 2 or 3 episodes, but I'll finish the series as well. Justin, I know you say you finished all 5 episodes. I found it to be captivating. I found it to be very interesting. I found it to be nothing I didn't know. I've been watching wrestling a long time, been covering it pretty close inside, and I've seen other documentaries who have that kind of shown aspects of what we saw here, but this was different. This was an official WWE production that was filmed by NFL Films, shot through the Netflix's company or whatever like that. So it was like a third person. WWE didn't have complete control of the final cut, but of course they had some say in what they wanted out and what they didn't want out. And we could talk about it piece by piece on some of the particular issues. But Justin, what was your thoughts overall before we get into particulars?
I thought it was a whole blaze fest with Triple H / Paul Levesque. That's what I thought. It was, he could do no wrong. He was everything revolved around him, and that's what I didn't like about it. They didn't show the negative side of everything, right? Everything worked out. Everything was smooth. Everything. Oh yeah, you did this, and then this person did this, and this. Yeah. I remember that. It was unreal to the point where as though, where's the stuff that didn't work? Where's the stuff that you go back and say, hey guys, remember last week when we did that? Yeah, we can't do that again. That's the kind of some of the stuff I wanted to see. Them admitting to certain things that didn't work. Cody Rhodes. All right, maybe they wasn't going to go that route, but it was other routes that they could have mentioned just to keep it balanced some kind of way. If you watch this show, you think that they hit on all cylinders every time based off their committee and things like that. So that was just the first thing that caught my eye.
I don't know about that, but I'll give my opinion. Calvin, did you watch it at all?
Something that they did wrong.
Charlotte Flair.
How?
Nah, they didn't admit to it.
They did admit to it. Jey Uso.
I got an opinion.
They didn't say they did anything wrong.
I got an opinion on
it. I'll give my thoughts in a second.
You hot, you run with it.
I got an opinion on
it. They essentially told you that they went with him because he was hot, and then what do we see modern day? And we question why they take the belt off of him. And they told you in the documentary multiple times some of the issues he was having. He was getting blown up on the mic. He was tripping over the top ropes on his dive that week. Remember they said that? It was different reasons why. If you know the story really behind the scenes on why they cut his run short, they told you in the documentary pretty much.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Go ahead, Calvin.
I agree with that. I only got through 3 episodes. I think I'm like, I just finished the portion with the Charlotte Flair's comeback. One thing I did appreciate is it shows that it's not all Triple H's final decision for the most part. They had control over editing, over how it was edited, but it does give you the impression that, you know, you see Michael Hayes' input. You know, you see different people's input as well. So I do appreciate that. I do appreciate some of the behind the scenes and kind of letting the people tell the story, i.e. with the Kevin Owens storyline, and with the Kevin Owens attacking Cody Rhodes and at the end of that main event. So I do appreciate some of that behind the scenes and kind of hoping the people tell the storyline. And like I said, I didn't see what you were saying, Justin, how it's just all Triple H, all glazing all the time. I agree partially, but I do think it showed more of the machine behind Triple H, and I think that was to give them their shine, even though he's the chief content officer. So it appears as though every decision is made, it's his decision. It goes into some of the talking, the discussion behind the scenes, and it gives those people their shine as well. In addition to puts a highlight on some of the superstars that you're going to see more often. Your CM Punks, your Chelsea Green, your Charlotte Flairs, and detail some of their storylines, in particular coming back from injury or working their way up to becoming a champion, things like that. So I did appreciate that. I don't know if I really want to see some of the inner workings. Some of those need to be kept secret, in my opinion. But I guess in this day and age with the internet, nothing's really a secret. So
I honestly thought they did a great job at kind of showing you that Triple H don't have to say, because if it was up to Triple H, CM Punk would have won the Royal Rumble. And CM Punk versus Gunther. If you look at this whiteboard, that's why I put it here.
Yeah. They
had every match that was planned for WrestleMania. And if you look at the matches they had planned and what they actually went with, it didn't happen. Now, injury was part of that. And I think they didn't do a great job covering what they kind of did, but they did. Jay got hurt. Jay, that threw off the whole thing.
They talked about it.
Jay was going to win the Rumble. She got hurt, so they went with Charlotte. Jay was not supposed to win the Rumble. CM Punk and Gunther, the match we getting this weekend, was supposed to happen at WrestleMania. That was the match. Punk was going main event night 1. But they had the discussion, and remember, they like, well, what if we do this instead? And then somebody else said another suggestion, and then somebody else gave a suggestion. They highlighted Bruce Pritchard and how much control he has. Ed Koskey, how much control he has. I definitely don't think, for me, I thought Triple H didn't take enough control. I thought he was kind of had an opinion, and then he allowed them to change his mind. Remember, he asked everybody, and they rose their hand, who should win the Rumble?
And then it started to come out. Was it Michael Hayes that initially said it? Yeah, Michael Hayes initially said,
it was
I
Hayes
can kind of see Jay. I can, he's hot right now. Let's what about this? And then someone else stepped up and say, hey, I can see that as well. And then it kind of spiraled from there.
It was a couple different instances, and we can go by bit, but go ahead, Justin, your point.
The best part for Triple H, I'll say this for him on his behalf, Calvin, you didn't get to it yet, was the Rock Cena Cody Rhodes angle.
That was the point I was going to make.
when he went play by play with that, and he was telling them what to do, and all right, zoom in on him. All right, watch this person. Okay, now flip it to him. Like he really quarterbacked that whole segment to the T. So I will give him respect for that. Like that was tremendous on his behalf. They really did a great job when it came to that. It could have went different ways. It could have went left, but that's what they came up with. Then I'm okay with it. I would like to hear maybe a little bit more from other people. Cena was very close knit. Like he really did
melodramatic and monotone.
Yeah, he really kept things on the low. Like, all right, y'all know about that? Okay, I'll talk about it. Yeah, and if y'all didn't know about it, I'm not bringing up no new information.
He was trying to protect the business still. Yeah,
he definitely did that. I would like to rock a little bit more on that. Like he didn't necessarily say too much. They just had him. They had third person over the shoulder, kind of listen to what he was saying. Cody, yeah, I mean, I get everyone has their moments and things like that, but Cody is just a puppet. I thought he had a little bit more to say, and some of his creative control, he has none. So
well, that's part I want to speak to. That's not true. That's not true. So one of my major issues with what I'm about to tell you, one of my major issues with the documentary, and you'll hear about it probably because once people who know start finishing this series and they get to these episodes, they're going to come up. The original story, the plan was Cody versus Cena. That was always the plan. All of a sudden, remember, a year ago, the real plan was Rock versus Cody. Rock changed his mind and said, I don't think I'm going to wrestle. I got movies going on. Yickety, yickety. January comes. They had that plan in place. Rock showed, he called, they detailed that in the documentary. He called Nick Khan. He said, I got a plan. I want to do something. So he shows up on Netflix. Don't y'all remember that first episode of Netflix and everybody's wondering, what the hell is The Rock doing? He goes out there, drops character, shakes hand with Cody Rhodes. That was all off script. Nobody knew he was going to do it. Remember Michael Hayes said, well, you never know what The Rock is going to do. In the documentary, he said it. He's like, because you never know what he's going to say. He hugs Cody Rhodes. After we just saw these two in a blood feud and never got no follow-up. Remember he whispered the thing in his ear last year? And
the Raw at Mania.
We were supposed to find out a follow-up to that. Rock never shows up again until the Netflix episode. He got that belt, the people's belt over his shoulder. He does all this. He thanks the sponsors, thanks Netflix people. He goes out of character. He points out Cody Rhodes in the front row for being the face of the company. Everybody who was watching is confused. Like, why are you not in character right now? We don't want to see this. You know what I mean? Rock did all that on his own. They should have put that in the documentary. Then he says he wants to make Cody his champion. Remember, he inserted that story into it. That had nothing to do with the storyline they had going. He wanted Cody to turn heel. Triple H didn't like it. They should have put that in the documentary. Cody Rhodes didn't like it. They should have put that in the documentary. Instead, they put this whole thing where they had a meet with Bruce Pritchard and all these people, and they said, all right, we need to come up with another story, and we'll take it back to The Rock. And that's when they came up with, we'll turn Cena heel, and that will be the compromise. And then they came up with the thing for Elimination Chamber. That's the whole problem with this whole story. Rock got pissed that they didn't go with his story. That's why he didn't show up at WrestleMania. Last time we seen Rock was that whole Travis Scott and John Cena heel turn, right? That's the last time we seen him. Because he got pissed off because Triple H and them didn't go with his idea to turn Cody heel against Cena at WrestleMania. Now, would that have been a better thing than what we got right now? Maybe. But that's what should have been in the documentary. That's why Rock didn't participate in this. He's still pissed right now. So, if anything, this was Cody put his foot down because Cody said he didn't think his character should turn heel right now. It wasn't the right time, especially if he hadn't had that match with Rock yet. Rock didn't want to do business. That's the real story behind all of this. And everybody who knew that was looking like, if they tell that story in this documentary, now we talking this the real thing. But they gave some of a convoluted, no, that was the story y'all had to come up with the cover for Rock being pissed off. Rock brought in his own writer. They showed that, Brian Gewirtz. They brought him back.
Mm.
Rock tried to rewrite everything they already had a plan for a month before WrestleMania. That makes no sense. And that's the problem with The Rock. He just feel like he can do whatever he want to do, and people supposed to just go along with it. But Triple H and Cody push back. Go ahead, Calvin.
I was gonna say the problem is he wants to do that, and he's also not committed. So
That's what I'm saying. He's not there no.
You can't be committed January to April and then not show up again until next January. That's the problem. If you want to be committed, you should have rolled that storyline out from last January to this WrestleMania. Settle the storyline and then do your thing. Now we also knew that he was not gonna have his swan song, his goodbye tour the same year as Cena's. So you're pushing that off a year later as well, if it does happen.
And we still haven't got the Rock versus Roman match that we should have had 2 years ago because he changed his mind. He changes his mind too much. That's the problem. The real battle is between these two guys right here on the screen.
So in all honesty, the problem is The Rock has Nick Khan's ear.
That's what it is, 100%.
So,
100%. And he even showed you. Nick Khan even said as much. I grew up with Rock in Hawaii. That's his boy. You know what I mean? Like, it's Triple H versus The Rock. That is what the WWE is right now. And they played nice on this documentary, which if you've been online, a lot of people saw right through it. Like, this was Triple H and Cody saying, nah, we're going to do what we want to do. And you're not going to come here at the last minute. Remember when they had the talk and he said, let me talk you through some ideas. And Rock was like, oh, okay. All right. I'm listening. And that's why the camera was rolling. So Rock couldn't say what he really wanted to say was just, fuck you. This is not what I want. You know what I mean? Like, but he just took his ball and went home. Didn't even show up another day after that. So we still need to see how this is going to play out. But yeah, I get it. I don't know. What's his story?
I like to hear his side of everything. Now he has a special coming out still.
You think he going to address it?
It's The Rock. Just show up. Hey, Netflix. It's my turn. My side of Unreal, because this is Unreal featuring Triple H. Now you can have Unreal featuring The Rock.
Rock is Hogan. Rock is Hulk Hogan. When I say that, Rock is like he has these outlandish stories, man, that are never consistent no more. But I just don't know what happened to him, man. I don't know. Go ahead.
Going back to SummerSlam, you don't think we get a heel face turn?
For who?
Cena and Cody. It's predictable.
I think it would be the right thing to do at this point.
So you don't think The Rock interjects because now it's his what he wants or he thought should happen?
I don't know. It would be interesting how they execute it. Well, we do know that they're filming for this TV show, so we'll see the behind the scenes of it because they're working on season 2 right now. So we'll see. Interesting. Let's run down SummerSlam real quick before we get out of here. I know the hour's getting late and Justin's camera's frozen. He must got like a 2-hour limit because it freezes about the same time every week. SummerSlam this weekend, really? Saturday night. Yes. It freezes the same time every week at this point.
But hold on, it freezes on cue, so it's not like you're doing something unexpected. Like it's always like it's
like that. Yeah. Like, what do you see right now? Like, you must got like a timer on your camera or something. Like at 11 o'clock, we shut down. This Saturday night, because the main event Saturday night is Gunther versus CM Punk for the world title. I thought they had a hell of a little promo segment on Raw the other night to help build to this. I think Punk has to win. I really do.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
Punk has to win. Rollins cashes in, takes the title right away. That's my prediction. I'm sticking with it. Calvin, your thoughts?
Is Rollins healthy when he cashes in? So this was all work, or is it he cashes in?
I think he cashes in, then acts like he's. I don't know, because then they can strip him. Yeah, I think he's healthy. It's a work.
Okay. I definitely think Punk wins. I'm still up in the air about the Rollins cash in because I'm saying like I can see him cashing in and there'd be a work. I can see him cashing in. They suspend him and then they figure out some way to crown a new champion. I will say after watching the documentary, this completely shows that they took the title over Jay because they felt like he couldn't perform regularly
That's the
and
bottom line.
every week. So I completely see that now, and so but I got Punk winning.
I think they like Jay as a character, and he's a good person on the show. But
He may get another title run.
even
but
the
it
other
won't be
night,
this year.
did you watch Raw the other night when him and
Yeah.
Paul Heyman had their promo segment?
Yeah.
It was horrible. Like, he had nothing to say. Like, bro, what are you doing? Like, come on, Jay. Grab the brass ring. Jimmy is such a better promo than him.
I'm not knocking that. I'm not knocking that. Jimmy definitely is the talker out the two.
Yes.
For sure. So, yes, I'm waiting for Jimmy to come back to Raw so that they can actually team up again.
Put
They
them
ain't got to be
together.
a tag team, be with each other,
Yeah.
and then let Jimmy do most of the talking. He's not a talker.
Oh.
It is what he never
It
was.
just is what it is, man. Heyman set him up, teed him up for the comeback. He just like, you know, Oos, yeah. You know what yeah. I'm like, bruh. The crowd wasn't yeeting on the cadence that he was waiting for. So he just froze. I like, bruh. Oh man. Anyway, yeah. Love the guy, but yeah. Anyway, Punk wins this match, in my opinion. Tag team match. Man, yo, that segment at the end of Raw. That segment at the end of Raw.
When they steal your shoes.
I honestly have not been that like seen a how can I say it? I have not seen a heat segment that's supposed to add fuel to the fire at the end that actually got me like, okay, I actually want to see this. I mean, not that I think Roman is losing or nothing like that, but at least he got his tail whipped. You know what I mean? At least you put some heat where Braun and Bronson got some credibility. Yo, Braun Breaker looked like the baddest thing walking at the end of that.
Yeah.
He looked like when he was talking trash to him, repeating what Roman used to say when he was
that spear on the outside.
Man,
Look,
I loved it. I loved it.
That was trash.
I thought Jay was going to take the pin. I think Jay's going to take the pin. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose. Yeah, I think Jay takes the pin. I don't think Roman gets pinned.
Keep it going. Then you can have more matches.
Especially depending on
war games or something. Mm-hmm.
Especially depending on what happened with what's going on with Rollins, in my opinion. Because you can kind of extend this a little bit, and like you said, lead into war games in a couple of months.
What you think, Justin?
Trash. I think Roman and Jay wins. I don't see them getting their ass kicked to Monday and then lose again, or at least get their ass kicked. So because you lose, you get your ass kicked. So no, I don't see that happening. I don't like Braun taking Roman's his quotations there. It wasn't a time. It didn't hit like that. Pause. It just like he was just talking. No,
yes, it did. It hit.
Time for it.
I've seen so many people like that. I loved it. That was great.
No, that's cool. I didn't like it. I think that should have been maybe a one-on-one thing. Like, look, you're going to have a feud with Roman one-on-one. That's going to happen in the future some kind of way. You say that for them. You don't do it. You don't waste it on this tag.
That's not wasted. Now you got more history behind it. Now you got more time to when you really finally do get that big match. Now when you finally do that big match, remember when he did that before SummerSlam? Especially if Braun get the win here, that adds even more heat. I loved it. This is great.
I think they might be just going a little bit too fast with Braun. A little bit too fast. They got to slow that train down. So just a little bit. Just a little bit. It's talking about Roman Reigns, the mythical creature that Roman Reigns is. He's a mythological creature. He's Santa Claus. He's all those things. Braun, not right now. In the future, yes, not right now.
You got to strap a rocket to these young guys, man. You can't keep playing the same tunes. We got enough old guys on top. Let these young guys mature and get up there and get them ready. Like I say, you got these young guys at NXT, Trick and Obafemi. Get them up there too. Like, you can't keep on playing the same hits. Right. Anyway, Tiffany Stratton defends her title against Jade Cargill. Justin, how you see this one going down?
You know, it's about time that Tiff gives up that belt. but we're not gonna like look past Unreal kind of brought this to my attention, like when they went to Charlotte Flair and her history and all that. Just the quick segment they did, I was like, okay, Tiff was Money in the Bank. She beat Nia Jax, who was on one of the hottest runs in women's wrestling in quite some time when Nia was on top. Then she dismantled Charlotte in a sense. This is Charlotte winning after winning the Rumble, 14-time champion. Charlotte made her flustered on the mic. You know what I'm saying? Now she went off mute, in which she brought up, but at the same time, she completely flustered Charlotte, and then she took out the legend Trish. That's enough.
It's a nice run.
That's enough accolade for the run, where as though is now rememberable. Like I'm going to remember that run that she had. Great. It's Jay's turn now. That's all.
Yeah,
it's time for Jay to dominate.
Yeah,
I agree. It's time. Especially after the injury, so it's time. I just hope post this match we can see the progression of Jade when she wins the title.
Well, she's gonna work with Bianca, so we'll see. Good. Also on Saturday, tag match. If Drew McIntyre is able to get back into the country, if you haven't heard, they held him in London. His passport, he didn't have it, so I haven't heard an update on whether he's got officially back into the country. But as of last weekend, I know the Miz was trying to say, hold up, I just seen something now. Drew McIntyre and a social media post revealed his passport issue has been resolved. He will in fact team with Logan Paul, so he will be here. So so the match is back on for Saturday. Jelly Roll, Randy Orton versus Drew and Logan Paul. I know this is the celebrity match of the weekend. Jelly Roll did not impress me the other night with his movement in the ring, but again, we'll see. They're going to practice this match and practice this match and practice this match, and it'll be choreographed, and he'll get some good spots here and there for the hot tag or whatever like that, because he's not going to sell. They better have Randy take the heat, but we'll see. But I think Drew wins here. Drew and Logan gets. No, they probably go with Jelly Roll. They probably will.
They got to.
They probably will. Just Calvin, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, they got to go with Jelly Roll and Randy. And even though Randy was appearing, in my opinion, started to take a turn, but they got to go with Jelly Roll and Randy. You don't have this match and have Jelly Roll sell, or even have Randy get pinned, in my opinion. So,
okay, Justin,
I got Paul and McIntyre taking it. Yeah, I got Jelly Roll lasting a little bit longer than what we think, and I think it's going to funnel out to just him and Logan Paul, which it should have been like that for jump. Logan Paul is good enough to sell a match himself. He doesn't necessarily need the extra that we have here. So I think we're going to continue to see Jelly Roll and Paul as Orton and McIntyre go back to the championship picture. I think Paul takes this.
You know, I didn't realize how big of a star Jelly Roll is out there to various people. Yeah, man, I really don't follow any. I don't even know nothing about the guy. Not fun. Yeah, but apparently this guy got a lot of fans, dog. So for them, this was a good get. So good on that. You know what I mean? So we'll see if they get some new eyeballs on the program. Good for them. Also on Saturday, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss will challenge for the tag team titles against Roxanne Perez and Rodriguez. Lord, I forgot her first name. But so Roxanne Perez and
Roxanne Perez and Raquel
Rodriguez. Yeah. So Raquel and Roxanne have been interesting, been fun. I love the live bit that they keep going with that, and Roxanne is doing really good in her role. I don't think they need to take the titles off of them right now, but I could see, because Charlotte and Alexa have been getting over, this might be the time to put the titles in there and keep this feud going, so that way you can go on SmackDown and Raw with both Charlotte and Alexa. These are former champions, single stars, and this gives them something to do. We talk about sometimes when the title is being clogged up at the top, you don't need these guys, these Asian veterans, to be in the title picture losing all the time. Put them in a tag team, let them have a little run, and you keep that star power on the card. I think this should be interesting. This should be fun. What's your thoughts on this one, Justin?
I think it's time to put the belts on Charlotte and Alexa. Alexa came back, and she's just been phenomenal since she's been back. To be honest with you, Charlotte, it was good. Like I said, it was good that the segment that she had in Unreal. It definitely brought a different light to her, especially when CM Punk threw that line when she was practicing about the bowel movements and things like that. Charlotte's okay. You know, I think Charlotte it's a complete different Charlotte, and I actually am a fan of this Charlotte versus the Charlotte going against Tiffany Charlotte when she's trying to play that heel and she doesn't know how to work the crowd like that. Like that's she's out of her realm when it comes to that. And she's not the athlete she used to be on top of that. I know that they focus on that.
That's
she's the best athlete.
Yeah.
She's no longer the best athlete. She needs to do something else. She got to find another niche here in WWE. And Alexa said, I got you. And this has been
found it interesting. I found it interesting that was the first major injury she had too, because I know she had the nose stuff, but I think she had a nose job. So it wasn't like it was an injury, but and I think she had the breast augmentation. So she's had issues with kept her out of the ring, but to tear her, to have a knee injury. So it is interesting seeing her bounce back. Calvin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's time for her to get the belt. It's time for Charlotte to get a belt. So I do think they win. But just going back to what you said with her injury, it didn't occur to me that she had been in, main event for so long and never had a major injury like this. It just didn't really click that, you've really seen her regularly year in and year out, especially in WrestleMania for the better part of a decade. Like it just that didn't click until watching.
Well, that's part of the problem. People feel like she always on top, always
correct.
Winning.
Probably because of the last
name. You get tired of her. Yeah. So this is new for her. This is good. Finally on Saturday night, you get Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross in a rematch. I have no clue why this match is on SummerSlam. Like, why? I know you like the star power of Sami Zayn, and some people do like Karrion Kross and all, but you could put this on Raw. I'm sorry. It's just nothing for me. Calvin?
Does nothing. Don't care.
Justin?
All right. So I do care. I'll be the only one. I think we see Sammy go to the dark side. I would appreciate that role change for him, that heel change for him. He needs to embrace that. Karrion's bringing it out. Karrion right now, him, Naomi, Drew, and a few others, they are finding ways to be relevant in 2025 without the storyline build-up. They are taking it to social media, and they are letting social media be the driving force of their current careers right now. So Karrion without social media would have been just another guy. Like he wouldn't even be in this position. No, it was the drive of social media that literally transpired into the crowd, and the crowd started to chant his name and so on and so forth like that. So shout out for them to find that niche, that role that a lot of people still ain't really tapped into yet.
But he's still not over in his matches. That's the problem. Like he ain't getting over social media, but when the bell ring, nobody cares. That's the problem. So anyway,
he can be a good manager.
Yeah. Anyway, Sunday night, the main event, John Cena, Cody Rhodes for the title. I think Cody gets the belt back on this night, but I don't know. There could be some shenanigans. I'd say Rock could get involved. Is there a turn here? I'm interested. I mean, at least it's no holds barred, so that's good. So the match won't be as boring as it was at WrestleMania. They have some, smoke and mirrors to try to keep it interesting at least. And I think that was also a part of the documentary. You could tell they were not happy with that match. And he said it was basic. They would have had to do. You heard the comments after the match backstage. Wasn't nobody like, oh, that was match of the night, like the triple threat. And Triple H even said so much. No, it wasn't the women's triple threat. No, it wasn't, Roman, Seth, and man, they were raving about that Roman, Seth, and Punk match. But this match, it was like, it did what it needed to do, So we'll see if that continues on Saturday night. Justin, your thoughts? I know you hate Cody, so what you looking to see happen here?
Never give up. John Cena takes this one.
Calvin?
Yeah, I got Cody winning. Just interesting seeing do they do the double turn or not. You're starting to see chinks in the armor of heel Cena slowly but surely. So it's time. He ends as a babyface. Maybe one more shot at Cody, but he definitely loses on Sunday night, I should say.
Yeah. Let's rapid fire some of these. Rhea, Naomi, Io. This should be one of the matches of the weekend. These three are probably going to put on a great show. I think Rhea gets the title here, but I wouldn't be surprised if Naomi retains
Retains.
and takes on Stephanie in what's that, Australia or whatever. So no, I'm going with Naomi.
Clash of the
Yeah, Castle
Paris.
somewhere. Yeah, Paris.
Yeah.
Paris. Yeah, I think I'm going with Naomi. I think Naomi retains. Justin.
Same.
Yeah.
Calvin.
Naomi retains. She pins Io. Rhea doesn't get pinned again.
All right. Steel cage match. Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa. I think this will be interesting. I think the cage will add a different element. I go with Jacob regaining that United States title because you're keeping out the bloodline. I think he regains it. Calvin.
Yep. Fatu.
Justin.
I'll go Solo, but a Herculean effort from Fatu. He's going to rip a cage down or something crazy. As though he's going to be the memorable highlight of those Solo wins.
Okay. AJ Styles and Dominic Mysterio. I think Grande might get involved here. You saw it was a second hour Grande on Monday, which I think is peak done, to be honest with you. But I think this is going to be fun. The crowd was really into them. AJ finally getting his hands on Dom. And the fact that AJ beat him on Raw, I think Dom wins this match. I think Dom is retaining the title. And that might be a little controversial, but I think he wins. Calvin?
I think Dom wins. I don't think it'll be clean. He will have help.
Do a rematch, yeah.
So, yeah. So we'll see a rematch in the month.
Justin?
AJ will not beat Dom for however many times they fight each other.
Yeah. I
But
think
this
Ray
might
should
be a
be
match
back soon, too.
tonight, though.
Yeah, I think this will be a good match. I think the crowd will really eat it up. You know, they love the boo Dom. Becky Lynch and Laura Valkyria for the Intercontinental title. That promo segment the other night was horrible, terrible. But overall, these two have great matches together.
On Laura's behalf, it was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah.
She came up on that stomping thing and all that. Like, what are you doing? Stop. You're doing too much. Bailey. I got Becky winning this. I think all eyes on Laura finally winning. I think Becky still pulls it out.
Calvin?
Yeah, I got Becky pulling it out. I agree.
And finally, man, this was a big announcement last week. 8-man. I've never seen an 8-man TLC match. So 18 TLC match. Wyatt 6 defends the title. It's the Street Profits. Axiom and your boy, the Motor City Machine Guns, DIY, and they got Andrade and Ray Phoenix. This is going to be all action. Some of these people are insane. I think this has a chance to be the best match of the weekend. We saw the last time that the Street Profits were in a ladder match. It was sensational on SmackDown. Now you add all these teams. Unfortunately, I think because the Wyatt Six just signed this new deal to be featured in Universal Studios, I think they're probably going to retain, but I think they're the worst team of all of these teams. I would love to see Ray Phoenix and Andrade get the win, but I think the Wyatt Six are going to retain the titles, unfortunately. Calvin?
So I wasn't aware of that deal. I was thinking the Street Profits will win. I think they're the best tag team and the most exciting. They have the potential to be the most exciting tag team. But if that's the case of what you just referenced, then I can see them retaining. But
I hope not. I'm just telling you. I'm just thinking from I don't know that to be fact, but they just signed a deal to feature Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt Six at Universal Studios and both Disney. I mean, Universal LA. I mean, California and Florida. Like a big time. Like I think it might be Walt Disney World actually. Whatever. It's a big signing they did. You know what I mean? So I would think they will want to try to feature them a little bit. They don't need to be champions to be featured. Justin, your thoughts?
I'm going with the Street Profits. I hope everything happens with Ron Killings. I know it's in Carmelo Hayes starting to tweet out a little bit some things, so I hope that plan works itself out. But at the end of the day, that is a great constellation prize for losing the tag team titles, your little Universal Studios or wherever it is that you're going to be at. Great job. Get up out of here.
Yeah, interesting. So that's it for SummerSlam. Both nights, 2 nights have 6 matches on each night, so it's not going to be overbearing. I was considering going up there, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to pull it off. But it should be a fun weekend of watching wrestling, even if you don't watch it live. The good thing about Peacock, you get to it when you feel like it. Before we get out of here, I know we ran late because Justin was late tonight, but we appreciate you all tuning in. Be sure to check us out next week. We will. I think the Ravens had their first home game of the season next Thursday night. Yeah, so we'll have a
only home game of the preseason.
And, I think we'll try to preview the Ravens. I don't know what the schedule is. The Ravens are coming up pretty soon on our rundown, but we'll be talking about some of our teams coming up soon.
I thought they were the last week.
Yeah, I think they are, but we'll see. So I don't know what the schedule is, but be sure to check us out next Wednesday night. Justin, any final thoughts? You've been frozen for like a half an hour.
It's all good. Just know that's my icon talking. Shout out to Bubba Wallace, man, for winning the Brickyard. Shout out to him, first black person to do it. I appreciate your efforts in that industry. Shout out to MJ and 2311 crew. Shout out to Bubba Wallace, man.
All right, Calvin, any final thoughts?
The Orioles have already started dealing away pieces tonight. They traded Urias to Houston, so expect a lot more moving from them over the next 16 hours, something like that.
Wow. All right, big news. All right, and for me, nothing more. I would just appreciate all the birthday love over the past week. It was a great weekend, and thank you for all those who reached out. And we'll be back next week with more content and more things to talk about. This clearly was a jam-packed night. We'll review SummerSlam both nights next week. Try to keep it succinct as possible. We'll start on time so we get you out on time. And thank you all for tuning in. And we'll be back next week for another edition. For Calvin, Justin, I'm Larry. Get off the damn fence.